Good morning. It is football time. Almost. We got a couple hours to go, but we're going to fill that void with the most comprehensive pregame show possible. I'm Nate Markham. This is the Fantasy and Frames pregame show. Joining me as always, Jorge Edwards. Jorge, what's up, my man?
Man, your intro to good morning literally jostled me out of being asleep there. So thank you very much. I'm excited. I can't wait. Another week of fantasy football and for NFL football is upon us, and all the lineups have been set. I say that now and then watch a slew of injury reports come out while we're on the air, and it's massive alterations before kickoff. Yeah. But that's why you love it. That's why you love fantasy football, and that's why we're here. And we got. Well, I'll let you do the introductions here.
No, please. I was gonna say, man, alterations maybe on the injury front. We got a little alteration and somehow bringing this beautiful show even more beautiful. We got a great looking man joining us this morning. Our newest writer, now podcaster, friend. Les is going to be with us hopefully as many Sundays as possible. But I don't think I could do it justice to tell everybody about just how valuable you are. But let everybody know who you are, Les.
Hey, first off, you got a great podcast voice, man.
Get some feedback from me real quickly here.
Is it for me?
Let's hear you now, Les.
Yeah.
Testing, 1, 2.
I love
it when perfect introductions go sideways.
Go ahead.
It's typical, just typical. Once you hit browser refresh, and we'll get back to you, and we'll be back on. Yep. Wow, that was such a great intro. It's a great setup, and then it's technology wants to get in the way of all that jazz. So fantastic.
It did have a droid-esque thing to it. So I wish I had some clever way of. You did not hear that intro. You did forget exactly how that sounded, and we'll backtrack it and start over. Yeah. And I can tell already, I don't hear the little droidy sound. Les, I want to start off by saying, my lovely wife says, welcome to the crew. You met Carrie at the expo, and she is our brand ambassador. But
there we go. Love it. Okay.
You're our newest pod ambassador, my friend.
Let's
poetic about yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for the intro, and it was definitely a pleasure to meet y'all at the expo. I've been telling all my friends about how great of a time that was. Such a great time. I ended up joining the team with y'all, and as far as me, fantasy football junkie for probably about the past 15 years. I love the competition of it and all that. But I'll tell you what, when we went to the expo, it was like meeting y'all and everybody else. That's when I realized there's many levels to this, man. So I'm happy to start where I'm at and keep learning from y'all and bring what I can to the table. So thanks again. Look forward to it.
Hey, I know I can speak for Jorge that if our pace at one new writer and a family member per year at the expo, and in the year 2047, Fantasy and Frame should be about 600 deep, and hopefully pumping out content left and right as we have set the standard for ourselves.
That's a lot of articles to go through a week. I'll just say that. But,
yeah, you're gonna need to find an editor, my friend.
Yeah, or 3. Yeah, exactly.
I hope that gets to that point.
If that's our biggest problem, I feel like we're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess if you got here, let me start with Les. You got any start sit questions or anything this week? Anything you want to bounce off? Because me and Jorge are playing each other in about 10 leagues this week, it seems like, and I don't want to ask any questions to him.
In an IDP league, I can't wait for that.
I'll tell you what, off the top of my head, one I'm thinking about myself, actually a few. And I know we're getting into this later, but I'm looking at Russell Wilson, starter sit. One of my particular leagues, my decision is Russ versus Jared Goff. I mean, any other time that it's Russ easy, but Goff's got a better situation, better offensive line, better weapons. It looks like Russ has been stale. I mean, he just played my Houston Texans and barely got out of that in one piece. So that's where I'm at with it. You know, that's one of my things. Another is James Robinson and Darrell Henderson. So those are my concerns off top.
Damn. And, you know, you touch on one to start off, and this is my not even concern, or it's actually optimism for Russ and Denver. Is it as a team, you know, here they are, they've scored 16 a game. They got 32 points on the season, and yet they're ninth in total offense. They're top 10 or they're 11th in total plays. If you look at yards per play, they're 7th. All these positive, you know, just pieces of the offense seem to predicate that they're going to get it together and it's going to start clicking. Because, you know, if you look at everybody in that top 20 of total yards, they're in last by quite a bit. Well, I take that back. You got to throw Green Bay in there because Green Bay only had, you know, scored 34 and they're close in the yardage, but those are anomalies. I personally think Denver is going to pick it back up, and Judy's going to play. You know, Pat Surtain's going to play. So from the defensive side, I think that might give him a little better chance. Jorge, I know the second question, James Robinson. I don't even need to ask you because the answer is always James Robinson.
James Robinson by default. People need to start acknowledging that he's good and that he's startable week in and week out. All he's done when he's been given an opportunity, given the majority of the workload, which he's getting, has produced for you. Back from 2 years ago, even last year in the limited games that he was actually featured, because thank you very much, Urban Meyer, he produced for you. What's he doing now? Still produce for you. Stick with the producers. You know, that's the check. The people who actually do well on the field are the people you want to have on your fantasy roster. Now I'm going to go the opposite direction with Nate. I understand Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. I understand that he has weapons there. I understand that he has that extra dynamic for being able to run around and give you those extra yards there. But Jared Goff was my start of the week at quarterback. He has it is a fantastic matchup. You know, and you think about the narratives. You think about, you know, Vikings getting blown out by Philadelphia on Monday night. They obviously want to get that sour taste out of their mouth. They have all these weapons on offense, whether it's Justin Jefferson or Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, or Irv Smith, who is, again, another tight end who I'm pretty high on this week. Coincidentally, Adam Thielen, nowhere to be found. Thank you very much. That definitely helped me last week, or not. But Jared Goff, he has this Lions team, you know, our own Keith Fleming put in our Chasing Upside article this week. There are two teams in weeks 1 and 2 that put up 30 points or more each week. One of them was the Buffalo Bills. The second one was the Detroit Lions. And just the volume is going to be there. And here's why I'm telling you the volume is going to be there for Jared Goff. It's one of those things where you would say Jared Goff is going to be a garbage time quarterback, and he's going to do this and that, and he's going to they're going to have to be coming from behind, and therefore he's going to get the volume that way. I don't think that's the case. You look at what they did against the Commanders last week. They came at the Commanders. They threw everything they had at the Commanders offensively from the get-go. So it wasn't like the situation where they were like playing from behind. No, like, you know, they were aggressive. They took the personality of their head coach and they just kind of applied that to offense. And they were just going after it. And then Washington made their run, but then, you know, Detroit still kept the foot on the gas. And I think you're going to see the exact same thing this week.
Yeah. Are you going Goff over Russ?
I'm going Goff over Russ. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we basically didn't help you at all at the quarterback question.
Exactly.
No, you did. I mean, because I actually had Goff in my lineup up until a little bit this morning. Then I went and put Russ back. So we'll see what I end up with. But go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. No, I just you know, the only concern is I have to get past the idea that I don't believe that Goff is the 6 touchdowns, and I mean his touchdown percentage is 8.5%. He's 4th in the league right now, behind Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I don't, you got to get past the idea that he belongs in that company, and I think that's maybe a mindset of regression that I think that it's going to go back to the norm a little bit because it's sub 60 completion percentage. A lot of things working against him, but you're right, Jorge, that the implied point totals indicate that it should be a situation that it could be back and forth. Goff could easily have multiple touchdowns in this, and Russ has. They brought in a new offensive situation in Denver. Nathaniel Hackett has conceded that he needs more of a game time manager, so they brought in, and I don't have it in front of me. I'll just forego, but they took some of the pressure off of him a little bit. But
great sign 3 weeks into the season. Hey, I need help.
I know we need someone to help manage. There you go, Jorge. That's all you, buddy. Do you go against your?
So, Malcolm, welcome to the show. This is hilarious because in the start sit column I put out this week, Goff was my start. Wentz is my sit. So I'm definitely on Goff today. I think this Philadelphia defense is no joke. They took it to an offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings last week that is graded out statistically better than the Washington Commanders' offensive line. So now you're giving a worse offensive line to hold off this rush from the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see it. I don't see it working out well for Wentz. That's not to say that's one or two of the receiving options for Washington can't benefit today and Wentz still be bad. It's not like we haven't seen that before. I personally think Curtis Samuel is going to be the primary beneficiary. But to answer your question, Malcolm, I'd go Jared Goff today.
Yeah, I wrote that in my FYI column. Basically, that negative regression is coming for Wentz, and I think today may be the day. So I'd definitely go Goff myself.
Yeah. Hey, Craig.
Craig with the googly eyes. Don't know what he's referring to, but welcome to the show, buddy.
He's just saying he sees how good looking you gents are, and he's ready to listen to the beautiful talk about. I'm sorry, I get sidetracked. My page had to refresh. Good Lord.
Hey, way to play that off, man. That was good.
Man, I got trying to this moving from pages. If I could share a screen, it would show like 75 tabs across the top. And if you get Swift finger, all of a sudden it takes it to another screen. Then I'm lost. And maybe Craig was saying, so Carson will go back to Wentz. Is that the revenge game narrative they're going on? Is that what's going to happen?
Not with that offensive line. It's not going to be a revenge game for Washington. Look, he's good. Things are not looking good for him this week. Let's put it like this. This Philadelphia Eagles team made a concerted effort in the offseason to improve their defense dramatically. And yes, they were a victim of circumstance in week one where they kind of took their foot off the gas and let Detroit climb back in there. Week two, they weren't putting up with any of it, which is why they shut down the Minnesota Vikings. I just don't see Carson Wentz having a big game this week.
Nope, I don't either. And Malcolm, it has
to be Samuel, right?
It's got to be. Adam Thielen has, don't get me wrong, in a situation like this where you have a game that we anticipate high scoring as we do with Detroit and Minnesota, you'd love to believe Adam Thielen is involved, but Curtis Samuel has proven that he is involved. He is the centerpiece right now of that passing attack. I mean, I know that it's been moved around, but I think he is the one that is creating a lot of the mismatches overall is his utilization in that offense, the way he's being kind of we said it, and I jokingly said it in week one, the Curtis Samuel and Deebo Samuel comparisons, and I still don't want to compare the two, but usage and situational, it's a little there. So I'm all on Curtis Samuel. Les, what do you think? You still believe in Thielen?
No, I'm with you on Samuel, and I was thinking about the point that Jorge made with James Robinson. I mean, Samuel's the hot hand right now. We all know Thielen's name, but he hasn't been producing. And back to your point, Samuel's getting it done the way Deebo Samuel's getting it done. He can get it, deep route, out the backfield. And I think with that aggressive defense that Philly has, I think that Samuel has a chance to catch, something down the middle or on a sneaky play and break a big play. I love the upside. I don't really see, compared to Thielen, I don't see the upside that Thielen has. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Right. Let's jump in. Let's get started with some of the games.
We'll try and cover them all.
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
It's I have no doubt. I have doubt actually, but remain optimistic. We're 30 minutes or 15 minutes in, and we haven't even said who the first game is. But that's what I like, because there's reason, because people are asking questions and jumping in, and I don't care if we don't cover anything.
Like Craig's here. Last names are the same with Curtis Debo, basically the same guy.
Same.
Okay. Here we go. Got Dave Ibrahim from Connect Good joining us. Dave, welcome to the show.
What's happening, guys?
Let's introduce you to our newest writer and podcaster. We got Les here. Les, this is Dave Ibrahim, good fan of the Fantasy Frames family. Well,
all right, Dave. Hey, nice to meet you.
You too.
So are you right too for the podcast, or?
No. I've got an app, Connect Go. It's where I've got some analysts. So Jorge's on there actually, where you can actually jump on and book Jorge for like 15-minute one-on-one video chat, or you can text for 48 hours. It's like a booking service, just to chat about fantasy and what have you. Get some advice.
Love it, man. Love it.
We're billing you right now, Les, as we speak. It's up to about $64. So be careful what you ask Jorge with these questions. It is all framed to, framed.
I see what you did there.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Dave, you're just in time. We're going to start off with game one of the week, which is the Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Indianapolis Colts, where the Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites, and there's an implied point total over-under 50.5. The narrative is this: Matt Ryan has come in and has looked less than stellar for the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts reeling, if you ask me, a little injuries to start off. And the Chiefs are, I don't want to say the opposite, because assumed that Matt Ryan was going to come in and revamp this offense and give them the momentum. And it was assumed that Tyreek Hill leaving was going to leave Mahomes and company short on the offensive side. And it's been completely the opposite, where we can definitely trust Mahomes. I don't think anybody can trust Matt Ryan at this point against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. If I'm wrong, of course, you may jump in and interject. But that leads me to the running back position. Jonathan Taylor, we know, is a must start. Even though I am down on Jonathan Taylor this week, I have him outside of my top really 6, 7 overall, just because of the run game that or the run defense that Kansas City possesses. But Les, what we've seen out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire so far for the first 2 weeks is exactly, or at least close to, what fantasy managers, when drafting him, really last year, was expecting. Yep. Is this utilization in the passing game, this high upside RB2. Granted, we drafted him initially when he was drafted as he was a top 10 pick overall in some leagues. Are you trusting CEH this week as your RB2?
I am, absolutely, especially as an RB2. He's been, like you said, he was like a high draft pick, high expectations last year and all that. But this year he's been on like everyone's fade list. Mm-hmm. I think this year, what I saw in drafts, he was going like, 8th, 9th round. But if you look, he's got double-digit output the last 2 weeks. People are talking about the limited carries he got. I think that last week the Chiefs didn't need those carries, him to have double-digit carries. They fed him, until they got up and they were good, but he still had double digits. So as an RB2, I'm going with him until he proves otherwise. The other players that were hyped up, Pacheco, Rojo, and them, they're not doing much. Jarrett McKinnon's getting a little bit, but CEH is still my guy at RB2. So,
what's crazy is that when I was looking into CEH as a start this week, Indianapolis against the traditional run, with rushers, is actually not horrible. They're actually pretty good. Where they're bad at is receiving backs out of the backfield. And you look at the number of yards CEH has, he's RB5 on the season in receiving yards. So it's almost like, hey, Andy Reid, you you remember what it was like to coach a running back like Brian Westbrook back in the day, who can catch the ball out of the backfield, who can run the ball, and you have somebody who can do similar things like CEH. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm all aboard the CEH bandwagon this week.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: CEH goes. Is it Pacheco's backfield?
No. I think it's Jerick McKinnon's backfield, and Pacheco will kind of work his way in. He's only been utilized. Pacheco's only been really brought in blowout situations like against Arizona, and after CEH has been spelled of some of those drives. I don't think it's Pacheco personally. I don't think he's earned the trust yet of Andy Reid, and Andy Reid's that type of coach. He has to believe in why he should put him out. And I think the preseason hype I do believe this. I think the preseason hype on Pacheco and Rojo, not so much with McKinnon, was as a result of our collective distaste that we have from CEH. I think we willed that into existence. We wanted that to happen. And Pacheco showed extremely, dynamic output in those, again, preseason games. He looked really good against third string defenses and backups, but he's, that's not fair to say. It's not what my intentions are.
No, but it makes sense.
It's a good point.
It's, as much as I didn't believe that it was going to be CH this year, I really believed it was going to be Juju or some wide receiver in Kansas City. And what we've learned is that I'm not saying this, got to be careful. I'm not saying losing Tyreek Hill made Patrick Mahomes better, but what it's done is it's made him a different quarterback, and it's made him a more progression-based quarterback, which means he passes it to the receiver that's open. So go ahead.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe I have selective memory, but I could have swore I said during the summer something along the lines of what you just said, and I was met with scoff about losing Tyreek Hill is going to, that's impossible. He's not. Do you remember that at all, or am I just picking this up as we're going along as it fits the narrative right now?
No, I think that's a conversation that's been brought up. I think that it can be taken out of context from some, is that the idea that losing Tyreek Hill makes the team better is crazy. There's no doubt that having Tyreek Hill on your team is a better situation. Right. There's also things that can be said that not having a specific receiver that draws the ire of your quarterback in situations where they shouldn't can not help the offense move the chains. And we've seen that. But is there a receiver we can trust? I mean, Les, any other Kansas, if you had to choose one Kansas City receiver this week, is there one you pick?
I mean, I feel like to answer your question, you have to go Juju. I mean, when you look at the receivers that are there and you ask, is there one that, if I had to pick one, it'd be Juju, but I'm not confident with that at all. I wrote that in last week's FYI. I mean, week one, Juju had, I think, I don't know, like 8, 9, or 10 targets, and then he led the team in targets, and then turned around week 2 and had 3. And it's like you said, it's progression. I mean, you've got MVS, Mecole's back, Juju, Kelsey, CEH. Patrick's going through his progression, so he's hitting the open man, and
let's change the script. Let's say Kansas City last week. Okay, let's say Justin Herbert doesn't throw that pick 6 and it's a touchdown. The Chiefs lose. Are we having a different conversation where we're worried about the Chiefs?
I don't think I'm looking at a win-loss record as much as I'm looking at an offense that is doing everything. I mean, statistically speaking, Kansas City 7th overall in offense. They're 6th in passing, and they're 17th in rushing. With or without a win or a loss, I think that I'm still optimistic about the offense as a whole in terms of how they look when the immediate – let me ask you this, Dave. If after week 2 – not knowing anything, and if I said this team is going to lose Tyreek Hill, and they're going to be still 7th in offense, 6th in passing, 17th in rushing, that would seem like a victory, correct?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, Patrick Mahomes, who's holding you up. But I'm just a little bit worried that outside of Kelsey, there's really no immediate threat. Mm-hmm. How long is that going to last for? How long till they're sort of found out? Because is Juju the answer? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, I think that's what makes a team more difficult to find out is when you don't have a direct answer. When each week there's a different person beating you, that's a more difficult script to game plan against. Like Jorge, this week, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you're thinking you want to stop Jonathan Taylor, well, what if it's actually Nyheim Hines that you need to stop? And I mean, is he a flex play option for you this week?
You look at the strength. I think whenever I have to make a decision like this, I immediately start thinking, okay, what are the strengths that the opponent is going to be facing this week? And so you look at, no Willie Gay for the linebacking core for the Kansas City Chiefs, great in coverage, as you know. And they bring in Leo Chenal, who's going to be next to Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton's kind of like the run-stopping middle linebacker, inside linebacker. And Chenal's kind of known for being that as well, not so much for being in coverage. So if there was a negative light to be cast here on Jonathan Taylor, it's that this defense is kind of going to be predicated on shutting him down. And the lack of having a really good coverage linebacker does point in the direction of having having Nyheim Hines having some type of definitive role. Would I flex him? It depends on where I'm at in my league in terms of who's available. But you can make the argument definitely that Nyheim Hines could be a flex play this week.
Yeah, you touched on everything that makes sense to me as far as if they get behind in the games, will they keep Hines out a little bit more? KC does struggle against pass catching backs. They've allowed I think it's the third most or fourth most receiving yards to the opposing running backs. And they've allowed the second most fantasy points to running backs on the season so far in full point PPR. But Dave, on the Indianapolis Colts side, Michael Pittman appears to be back. All systems go for Pittman for you this week. Or are you a little concerned that there's going to be an easing in period?
Oh, I'm getting a little bit of vertigo from Les's camera right now. Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. It's my debut. I'm trying to get this angle thing right and keep my iPad charged at the same time, man. My bad.
All good, dude. All good. Now, look, Pittman is one guy I was wrong about going into the season. I thought he was not going to be the guy, but Matty Ice loves him. I think he's all systems go. They need a win. 0-2. I think it's going to be non-stop Pittman. I'm expecting probably 14, 15 targets. So if I have Pittman in any leagues, which I don't think I do because unfortunately I was very down on him, I'd fire him up absolutely.
I have him everywhere because I had him in my top 6 or 7, I think it was, preseason rankings of wide receivers. And missing a game to injury does not help that overall cause until he gets 15 targets, like you said, and he gets 2 touchdowns and a 38-20 losing effort. So let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Jorge, you touched on Nick Bolton in that run stopping. If they do try to establish the run, Indy, which I think they have to do so in order if they want to stay competitive, Nick Bolton potentially move up into that LB1 conversation for you?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, we're only 2 weeks in, about to be 3. You could already make the argument that he could be a low-end LB1, high-end LB2, more likely an LB2 at this stage to not completely overhype right now. Mm-hmm. But it's there. The thing about him is that last year he was one of the most efficient tacklers in all of the NFL, had a low missed tackle percentage, so he was actually hitting the players that he needed to hit and not whiffing on them, which, believe it or not, folks, if you're new to IDP or new to defensive players, that's a common thing. Mm-hmm. And it happens more often than not. So the fact that he was very good at not doing that, it bodes well for him. The issue coming into this season, though, with Nick Bolton was that, okay, is he going to be the primary guy? Is he going to be the guy who's on the field the majority of the time? Because he wasn't last year because, Nate, as you know, Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, likes to rotate in his rookies. Despite the fact that they're playing really well, I'm still going to rotate you, that's what he says. Mm-hmm. That's not the case this year. I believe Mike Woolert, who's one of our co-hosts on Shoot the Gap, our IDP podcast, he's wearing the green dot, I believe Nick Bolton is, so he's the playmaker on the field, so he's not leaving. No. He's not leaving at all. So he's definitely somebody who, with his efficiency and his productivity, definitely is somebody who could creep into your LB1 or top 10, top 12 linebacker rankings this week.
Perfect. Got a question as far as in a half-point PPR. Michael Thomas or Gabe Davis? Les, why don't you take a first stab at this?
If Gabe Davis is healthy, I'm going Gabe Davis all day. Big play threat, better quarterback. It's going to be a shootout in Miami. Easy one for me.
Gotcha. Dave, is anybody on Michael Thomas' side this week?
I think Michael Thomas has been a little bit overhyped. I mean, week 1, he was doing nothing until that garbage time fourth quarter where he snuck in 2 touchdowns, right? He doesn't get them, then we're having a very different conversation about Mike Thomas. Chris Olave is getting all the targets there. I think where he had 11 last week, 10 or 11, and about 8 the week before. So I think they're trying to push Olave to be the number 1. I don't think it's, Mike Thomas time. Gabe Davis is just too talented. We saw it week 1. Yeah, he's the guy there. He's the guy I'm trusting.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can trust Jameis with the back injury. Les, look at that. Already bringing more people in. I get my wife to watch, and she chimes in, and you get it.
At least your wife watches, all right? Yeah.
Hey, shout out to my boy Brandon, man. Thank you. He's the one that's supposed to bring me a microphone and some headphones, but we'll get that next week. Hey, thanks, man.
Come on, Brandon. I'll get that set up. And feel free if you have any questions, Brandon. Obviously, we'd love to help. Unless you guys play in the league together, Les?
No. I keep trying to get in one of his leagues. He calls himself Mel Sniper Jr.
I love it.
But he don't let me in there. But maybe next year I'll bring him into one of mine.
There you go.
I'm trying to get him to the Expo next year too.
Perfect.
That is the most awesome name I think I've heard in quite some time.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's good. A name that we loved, Jorge, going into the season was Nick Cross. It has been a little confusing. I'll say this week, the idea of this Gus Bradley defense, which traditionally is a single high safety, Nick Cross up in the box. I wonder if they will play like that, or if they do the more traditional cover 3 like teams have done against the Chiefs to slow them down. If there's any history of Gus Bradley and Patrick Mahomes, is that Mahomes has absolutely eaten him in every matchup. So what do you think? Nick Cross actually play up in the box? You think you think they play him deep this week?
I don't think they play him up in the box. I think they keep him right where he's been going, which is unfortunate for IDP managers. You would think that after losing 2 weeks in a row, you'd want to switch it up and kind of like play to the strengths of your players. Nick Cross, so far this season, his tackle rate has been phenomenal, yet his production from fantasy standpoint, if we're using Fantasy Pros IDP scoring, has not been. And why? It's because, like you just alluded to, the lack of enough box snaps where he can get to the quarterback or get to the running back to make plays and tackles just hasn't been there. Given the fact that this is shaping up to be a little bit of a blowout here on Kansas City's side, I would hope so, but something seems defunct in Indianapolis. And so I'm kind of holding off putting my faith into the rookie, even though, look, you were like the highest person I know on Nick Cross heading into training camp and heading into the season. So it's definitely disappointing. Mm-hmm. Definitely not the rookie starting strong safety that I was expecting to take off this year.
No, and Roddy Mcleod's even, stepped up, and he played 24 snaps last week. And that's, I don't want to see a 60-30, 60-40 snap between the two with any person that I trust with, any amount of gusto. Zaire Franklin is going to step in and start for Shaq Leonard this week. Zaire Franklin, I have him as a spotty, like low end LB2 this week. Safe to throw him in there, maybe LB3.
Yeah, I feel, this is just me speaking personally. There are a lot of other linebackers I think I'd feel more comfortable starting than Zaire Franklin. So maybe that 2-3. I think that 2-3 border is more where I'm going versus like a solid LB2 this week.
Probably LB3 more likely than anything. But let's let's jump on. We'll go to Baltimore, New England before we take the trip to Foxborough. Stop in with Johnny and says, "Good stuff, gentlemen. Thank you. Appreciate that. Half point PPR. We got Zeke, Jeff Wilson, AJ Dillon. Dave is gone, so he can't immediately just say Zeke, which would be his answer. I'll fill in for him. No matter the question, it's always Zeke. Hell, he named his kid after him, for crying out loud.
This is true. We're not joking. This is true.
No, that is true. But Jeff Wilson or AJ Dillon? Jorge, let's start with you.
Man.
Or Zeke, too, obviously.
You look at the usage of Tony Pollard in the receiving game, 9 targets to 4. You look at the rushing attempts is for Zeke, 25 to 15 for Pollard. The lack of the lack of weapons here is for Dallas is kind of interesting here. I'm looking back at week 2 usage last week with Cooper Rush as the quarterback, 15 touches to 9 for Zeke. The half PPR thing is giving me a little bit of a ringer here. I would go, if I had to pick 2, I would still pick Zeke and actually AJ Dillon over Jeff Wilson. I'm not the biggest Jeff Wilson fan. I think Jeff Wilson was a great, quote unquote, great backup running back a couple seasons ago. I don't know if he's necessarily that guy now. AJ Dillon, I get it, tough matchup, Tampa Bay. But look, again, all these wide receivers for Green Bay are like either out or doubtful or questionable. They're going to have to run the ball. I think AJ Dillon is the red zone threat there for Aaron Rodgers in the pack. So give me Dillon and Zeke this week.
Les?
Man, I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm going.
You only pick one, by the way, Jorge.
Only one.
Yeah.
Then it's
where it
Zeke.
says pick one. Yeah.
Oh, reading is helpful. Yeah, I'm going to go Zeke.
Nah, I'm going. If we're only doing one, I'm going Jeff Wilson. Last week, 18 carries, 2 receptions, 19 yards. Zeke, the exact opposite. Like you said already, he got outplayed by Pollard big time. And then, so for me, I could only pick one, but it was close between Jeff Wilson and AJ Dillon. I feel like, they're going up against the Bucs, but with the lack of receivers that Aaron has over there, I think they're going to lean on AJ and Aaron a lot. But I'm going Jeff. I'm going Jeff.
All right. Again, as it should be, total confusion, no help whatsoever. Actually, that's not true. I think that personally, I have those really close. I have Zeke and Jeff Wilson separated by less than 2 points, 1.5 points, I think, from a projection standpoint. I like AJ Dillon. I get the feeling, I really don't know why. I get the feeling that game's going to be like a 10-7, 13-10 game, and it's just going to be ugly in Green Bay, Tampa. It's 42 over under. Vegas thinks it's going to be kind of blah. Just a lot of pieces with that I think that could be an Aaron Jones exclusive game with no Hicks. And man, I want to say Zeke, but
the thing with Zeke is that you look at the defense for the Giants, and I say to you, what defense?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. And
let's go here. It's tough. So you're going Jeff Wilson. Les is Jeff Wilson. Damn it, David just left. I want to say he was going to pick Zeke. So So again, not a stalemate. But are we thinking even though we're divided on our opinion, do we think that you're going to see comparable output between the two, or at least?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least that's my take. I'm probably the lowest on Dillon of the 3 of us. But Brian joins us this morning. Brian, good morning. Happy Sunday to you, my friend. Always nice to see you. He in his Scott Fish Bowl league, he's got to pick one. Melvin Gordon, Noah Brown, Daniel Bellinger, Harrison Butker, or just give up on the season. You
guys kidding?
Give up.
Hey, I'm kidding, Brian. I'm kidding, man.
So I hate. So number 5, exclude because never give up, never surrender, never give up, never surrender. Harrison Butker, I believe, is out this week, so that's easy. 4 is gone. I don't trust. So last week, my my clairvoyant pick was that Noah Brown's going to come out and have about 4 catches for like 50 yards and a touchdown, and he's going to be a waiver wire gem. He's going to come out this week and catch 2 for 13. So if you want 2 catches for 13 yards, pick Noah Brown. If you want, I think Melvin Gordon probably gets us about 35 on the ground and maybe 20 through the air. Nothing special, but I guess that means Melvin Gordon.
See, I thought you were going to keep going because I actually think Daniel Bellinger is probably the option out of all of them. That at least you can say for consistency's sake would be somebody that you could insert into your lineup. And it also depends, Brian. Like, are you in first place in your division? Are you 1-1? Are you 0-2? Are you looking for upside? Because I know you're coming from Nate and the whole Noah Brown aspect, and with the word aspect in terms of him having 2 for 13 potentially this week after last week. But when Cooper Rush has been at the helm, he's been targeting Noah Brown a lot. And I know there's a lot of talk that my guy Michael Gallup is supposedly coming back this week, and even if that's the case, I see him being on a snap count limitation. Brian says he's 2-2. I say you go for it. I say you go to Noah Brown and just see what happens.
Is Brian from the future? Because he's already in.
Scott Fishbowl has dual scoring each week. They have a median score,
gotcha.
And then they have a head-to-head. If he was from the future, he wouldn't ask us questions because he knows the answer already, and he would tell us.
It's true.
And if he was from the future,
he should be telling us the answers, and that's the other way around.
Yeah, future Nate would have went back 5 years to when Noah Brown was drafted and said, "Hey, don't give up after 4 years. Your 5th year, you're going to actually have one productive game, and Jorge is going to recommend you in week 3 to start to someone." So keep reaching for the stars, Noah. Keep reaching for the stars.
We got a question here from Mick on YouTube: Russell Wilson or Derek Carr? Dave, let's start with you. Let's go ahead.
I like Derek Carr, man. I mean, especially with Devontae Adams, he's looking good. Last week, I'll put it down as a one-off, but week 1, he was looking absolutely great. He's got the weapons there now. I know Hunter Renfro's not there, but still between Waller and Adams, I mean, he's got the weapons there. Josh Jacobs still looking decent. Whether he plays or not today, I don't know. But he's got all the recipe for success anyway. Russell Wilson, man, I got him in one league, and I'm a bit worried. I'm trying to trade him away. I'm very skeptical about his outlook for the season.
No, you're right, and I agree with you in the sense that you look at the situation for the running game for the Raiders. First, Josh Jacobs is not on the plane. It's going to be Zamir White or Brandon Bolden. So now you have that question, floating in your head, and now all of a sudden, Josh Jacobs takes a other plane ride to Nashville, so he's going to be there. But will he start? Will he not? I think there's all sorts of discombobulation in this running game for the Raiders, which means they're going to probably lean heavily on the passing game. So, and then you look at the Titans on the defensive side of the ball. Who do they have to rush the passer now? Is Bud Dupree? Is he out?
He's out.
Okay. So you don't have Bud Dupree. You don't have Harold Landry for the season. I don't know who's the next five. Are you trusting Jeffrey Simmons?
It's
Rashad Weaver.
I always trust Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah.
But you can't just have one elite pass rusher because offensive lines are going to know who to key on. You're going to have to get people applying pressures from multiple directions, and I just don't see that happening this week. So I'm with you. I like Derek Carr.
Cool. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I like Wilson for the future. Man, the last show
getting more popularity than ever. I love it.
Hey, I had to check Nick's roster and see which league me and Mick were in before I gave my answer to that question, man. But what's up, Mick, man?
Yes, always a wise move. Your opponents will.
Yeah. But no, everything y'all said, Jorge, you had my main point. I mean, they're going AFC South guy here, and Derek Carr is going up against the Titans, man. That's too easy. And we already talked about Russ earlier today. We don't know what we're gonna get. We were just talking about maybe starting Goff over him anyway. So Derek Carr all day.
Yep, nice. Let's talk about the future and let's go to the next game. Baltimore at New England. Obviously, Baltimore, I say obviously, 2.5 point favorite. Over-under is only 44. You talk about a situation there in that game where New England has failed to do anything offensively. It does appear Jacoby Myers should play. I don't know if that really will tip the scales at any point, but it is worth kind of talking about a little bit is that the Baltimore secondary has been so bad. I mean, so bad, which is crazy because IDP scoring, Marcus Williams, we know Jorge. But does that mean that Mac Jones could possibly be, super flex worthy? Unless you're in a super flex league, you have Mac Jones as your QB2. How comfortable do you feel?
Very well. Hold up. Hold on. Hey, that was the caffeine right there. Hold on, my bad. But by the way, though, Jacoby Myers is not expected to play. Actually, they put that out about an hour ago. I don't know how true that is, but
oh wait, no, that's what I have. He's not expected to play.
I thought you said wrong. He was. My bad.
I did say that, but I did, and I'm reading it right in front of me. That they just came out and said that he's not expected to play, and so thank you for correcting me on that. My apologies.
Yeah, no, as my QB2 in a super flex, I mean, I'm thinking about who else would be in that QB2 slot, like a Jimmy G or even a Davis Mills. I mean, I short answer to your question, I would not be comfortable, but I wouldn't think it's a guaranteed loss. But with Jacoby Myers out, that's tough. The Ravens secondary is not good. Not comfortable. No. Short answer.
Jorge, any different opinion? Because I think that's probably the consensus here is that Mac has to show us something, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there was an opportunity for him to show people like, hey, or at least fantasy managers who are playing in super flex leagues, this would be this. I know it's an interesting set of circumstances here. This is the game. I'm not trusting Mac Jones until I'm sure I think I said this before when he was drafted. I think he'll be a better quarterback than he will a fantasy quarterback. So that's just kind of where I'm still with that right there. We got a question here on YouTube from Johnny 80. Did I read that correctly? Or am I just no? Yep. Whatever.
Yeah, Johnny T asked us earlier.
Johnny T. Oh, there we go. Russell Wilson or Jared Goff? I'm going Goff. Everybody else, I think, is Goff. Right?
Yeah,
But you're Russell.
I don't know about this week though. San Francisco is just from a matchup standpoint a little erring on the side of Goff when it comes to pure matchups this week. Rest of season, Wilson over Goff, 100% for me personally. But that's just an indicator of what I think the Denver offense will be versus the Detroit offense will be. And I think they're just going to eventually go in opposite directions. And I get that, Brandon. A lot of people are a game away from hitting the panic button. And I think my finger's on that button. But I'm trying to look past what's happened, and I look back to week one, and I think of the two fumbles in the, at the 5-yard line and within, and I think maybe I hate to say if they had thrown it with Russ, because we know how that can turn out. We've seen that. Yes, I know. Too soon. Got it.
Seahawks fans are like saying that's way too soon.
Oh, yeah, all two of them watching. I'm sure probably don't.
Better awake.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that does make sense as far as the panic button. I would see this week's going to be tough. I think if there's my 2 cents only is I think this might be after his week he get in San Francisco. If it's what I expect, which is not much, maybe it's the buy now opportunity that we have if the window could open for Russ. But, you got to put yourself out there. I'm hesitant to always recommend that because Russ could just, he's
going Russell Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this game, though, does have some positives as far as I'm concerned, one of which is J.K. Dobbins is set to return. Obviously, that whole snap count that he may be on. Les, what are you doing with J.K. Dobbins if you have him? Are you comfortable throwing him back in? Or are you going to wait a week?
Definitely. First off, I don't have him at all. He was on my do not draft list just because of the injuries. If I did have him though, I wouldn't start him this week. I'd hope I'd have like two good RBs that I wouldn't have to put him in. I wouldn't put him in the flex. I wouldn't risk it at all. And I definitely wouldn't go with anyone in that backfield either. So
No, I wouldn't either. Jorge, on the other side of the ball, that backfield, you talked about Damien Harris on Wednesday.
Right.
If you still feel that comfortable that Harris is going to outproduce Rhamondre this week, or
yeah. So back on our redraft podcast, Fourth and Frames, which you can catch every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You and I had a good back and forth as far as like which Ravens running back do we trust? Patriots running back do we trust versus this Ravens team? Mm-hmm. And I made the case that Damien Harris should be the guy based off of usage and volume. And you brought up a very good point that a lot of the running backs that have had success against Baltimore have been the receiving backs. Enter Rhamondre Stevenson. I'm always going to err on the side of volume, and it's not like Damien Harris doesn't get targeted in the receiving game, but you can pair, the targeting, the receiving opportunity rather for Harris combined with just the plugging and chugging of his rushing attempts there. If I had to pick one, I think you have to go Harris.
Harris is a good goal line back. He doesn't get enough credit for that. Like if you're within 5 yards, there's a handful of guys I want, like Derrick Henry, obviously, pounding the rock in, but Harris is quality. You know that he's pretty good for a goal line carry. They get in that 5-yard zone, and Harris is usually going to take it in. What did he get last year? 16 touchdowns? 15 touchdowns?
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't happen by accident. So I agree with you.
It's crazy. When I was looking up his advanced metrics, he's like one of the most elusive running backs out of all of running backs in the NFL this year.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough respect.
Yeah, definitely.
I just, want to touch one little point there is when you mentioned that you err on the side of volume. Let's just say that Rhamondre outsnapped Damien Harris last week at about 42 to 27 rate.
Yeah, but who's getting the rushing attempts though?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
he may have been on the field and had those snaps, but when given the opportunity to actually rush the ball, it was Damien Harris who outrushed Stevenson.
No doubt. I'm only saying volume
it's a good. I understand. I guess it depends. How are we quantifying volume? How are we defining volume? Are we defining it? How many snaps you're on the field, or the actual opportunities you have to rush? Yeah, I can see I see where you're coming.
No, and again, you're both those two things. That's why I think this is something to focus on. Will we see, Rhamondre out-snap Damien Harris, but get out-touched by Harris, or will we see Damien Harris control both of those, control the snap count and the touch count? And again, we're only in week 3. A lot of things to pay attention to. And so, Jorge, I'm going to let you answer this question. You're an hour, and all of our friend Ken Sonnenberg has an IDP question. Eric Kendricks, is this against you? Or are you freaking out? That's what you're checking.
Literally checking as we're speaking right now. Yeah, I don't think I'm facing him this week.
All right, so
I think we're good.
You've got Eric Kendricks against the Lions. You got Fred Warner against the Broncos, and you got Tremaine Edmonds against the Dolphins. Obviously, IDP questions are dictated by what style of scoring, etc. But in a general, you probably know Ken's leagues. But
yeah,
Kendricks got a couple of sacks last week, didn't he?
Kendricks?
Thought he did pretty well last week.
Pull it up right now.
Compared to week 1, there's no doubt. It was last week was the week that he needed to have because he had such a down week 1. A lot of people were already, that panic button gets bigger and bigger each year and year that we go because there's so much information that's out there for people. But Kendricks as a whole, I don't know if he had the sacks. Jorge, what are you thinking as far as this question goes?
I think Tremaine Edmonds is definitely the guy I think you want to go for this week. For San Francisco's linebacking core, for San Francisco's linebackers generally, you're going against a team in the Broncos who should be fairly run heavy, which you would think would lend itself to saying, okay, I want these linebackers for the 49ers. The problem is I think there's more upside with Drake Greenlaw than I do this week versus Fred Warner. Just because Greenlaw's been getting those tackles, getting those opportunities, getting to the ball more, especially last week. But I still think the competition for tackles here. You have Fred Warner, Greenlaw. You have Hicks, Kendricks. You have Tremaine Edmonds, and who? So I think
Matt Milano.
Wow, I can't believe I just disrespected Matt Milano like that.
That's kind of mean.
Yeah, that was very mean. Still confident though in Tremaine Edmonds going against this Dolphins team.
Do you like those Milano cookies?
I love them.
They're okay. Yeah, Les, by the way, in case this also breaks off from fantasy talk into foreign snacks that you do not know exist. I know Milano cookie is not foreign just because it's, sounds French or Spain. Yeah, exactly. But Dave introduces Italian. Yeah. Yeah. Milan, I guess, probably. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's probably made in Queens.
But no, we were on a pod. We did a pod a couple years ago, the three of us, and we would always end each pod talking about treats you can get on Amazon. And so you can get like the cookie gift basket from the UK or from Germany or from wherever you want to in the world. And Nate, being the native Australian here, was giving us his two takes on Australian candies and British candies, and we were definitely becoming fans.
Here's a good one to try: Scotch fingers, guys. You got to get some Scotch fingers. So they're like these butter cookies. You dip them in your coffee or your tea. Oh, they're incredible. I might go buy some right now.
Wait, hold on.
Wait a second. Yeah, get to that comment. I was about to say that right now.
Going against me? The hell league are we in?
The staff league.
Oh, didn't even. I don't care. That's easy. That's a walkover. What's not easy is to consider, the usage in New York right now. Is Elijah Moore a drop for the Jets in PPR leagues? He's starting Curtis Samuel over him currently as wide receiver 3. Now, Les, I'm going to go to you. My answer is I'm not dropping Elijah Moore right now, but I am starting Curtis Samuel over him. I guess, without knowing the context, is this a 10-team league? Is it a 12-team league, et cetera? There's how many you're starting 3 wide receivers. What are you doing with Elijah Moore right now?
So 10-team league. Well, I'm not dropping him either way. Period. Especially in the PPR. Standard league, maybe, but who plays standard anymore? Zach Wilson is due to come back next week. I think you'll see his usage go up. What you got there? Throwing bomb. Oh. Hey, good stuff, man. Good stuff. But no, long story short, absolutely not dropping Elijah Moore. It's too early. He's getting the snaps. Garrett Wilson had a big game, but Zach Wilson's coming back, and before Elijah got injured last year, that was a 1-2 combo towards the end of the year. Starting Samuel over him, absolutely, no issue there.
Gotcha. Now, here's the next question, and I like this because I'm a little higher, and I think Sterling Shepard or Tyler Boyd. Here, this is my choice. Right now, I think that it's maybe a more palatable with Sterling Shepard, because obviously we know they have no healthy bodies on the receiving side of that ball. But if we look, last week he was targeted 10 times. Granted, that manifested into a total of 34 yards. That's not exactly anything to write home about. We know that. Go back to last year and sporadic. Sterling Shepard, more IL visits than targets on the season, I think. But he had target volumes of 9, 10, 14, and then in healthy games, at least when he played 50 snaps or more, he's heavily targeted. The problem is how many snaps. So I think it's a weighted game of, do you trust Sterling Shepard to stay healthy, or there's enough pass volume in this Cincinnati Jets game that Tyler Boyd should see adequate target volume? Dave?
Well, Shepard is healthy this week. We know that. And it's all about
healthy right now this week before the game starts.
We have 2 hours to go.
Hopefully he doesn't have too many Scotch fingers, No, but then, look, I'm liking the Giants offense. They're looking better. Look, my gut call is that the Bengals finished last in their division. I think they've been exposed. Burrow's always been a little bit overrated in my book. I think they were very fortunate to get to that Super Bowl. And look, other than Jamar Chase, there's really no one there I'm excited about. T. Higgins is meh.
Tyler Boyd is the third receiver on an average offense. He really is. I'll honestly take Shepard. Yeah, I know it's the Giants. I'll take Shepard all day long. They're 2-0. They're feeling good. They're throwing the ball, and they're getting points.
All right. The slander is awesome.
Well,
Dave, that's spicy. Calling T. Higgins mid. Wow, that's kind of disrespectful.
Absolutely mid. Absolutely mid. The most overhyped receiver in the NFL, T. Higgins.
Oh, man.
That
Absolutely.
We have now ostracized the entire Cincinnati.
Hopefully he's listening.
First it was Seattle, now it's Cincinnati.
Yep, Seattle's dead to us. Now Cincinnati. We're isolating the states one by one. Vermont, remember, we still love you. Don't ever hate on us for anything. In a full point PPR, Mick, if you're from Cincinnati or Seattle, sorry, we probably lost you already. But maybe we can answer this question before you leave, or less insults a city that you may love or call home. Full PPR with
Tell me city and I'll insult it.
Keenan Allen or Julio Jones. This is assuming Julio plays, I guess, obviously.
Yep.
Right.
Isn't Julio out? But either way, I'm going Keenan Allen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As far as backup QBs go, Chase, you could do a lot worse than Chase Daniels.
No S.
What's that?
Chase Daniel. There's no S at the end.
No S.
State of Missouri will castrate you for saying Chase Daniels. So I used to do it intentionally because I'm an Illinois fan, and it makes people really pissed off around here because there's no S. And so I'd say, sure, got it. Che Daniels, and they'd be like, no.
Look, as far as backup QBs go, that's a pretty darn good backup QB. Keenan Allen, he's one of the best route runners in the league. I'm absolutely going Keenan Allen.
Jorge, how about you here with JK, Melvin Gordon PPR?
I'm going JK. If he's good to go, he's good to roll. He's good in my book. You look at the splits here with Denver, with Javonte and Melvin Gordon, both on the season having 22 rushing attempts apiece. Javonte taking the extra step with the 16 targets compared to Melvin Gordon's 3. So, it's slowly becoming the Javonte Williams show in Denver. Therefore, whatever hope we were having after week 1 that maybe they could still coexist and be fantasy relevant, I'm not seeing that happening in this matchup.
Does Ronnie Stanley being out for the Ravens affect not only JK but anything in this game for you whatsoever? Granted, he's a starting left tackle.
Well, if Dobbins was one dimensional, then yeah, I guess I could see that. But I see them using him a lot in the receiving game actually also. So I think he's going to be unleashed, uncorked, whatever you want to call it this week in both facets of the receiving game and the rushing game. Mm-hmm. Playing next to Lamar Jackson will definitely help to free up some running lanes there for him as well. So I'm Dobbins.
Yeah. And so obviously Brandon knows that Dave is taking shots at Les's T. Higgins. We didn't know there was hit below the belt, which is great. And
great welcome to the show. Boom.
So little background on that. When we were at the expo, I don't know if y'all were over at IDP Army's booth, and
Jordan.
They were doing hot takes, and my hot take was that T. Higgins was going to finish as a higher wide receiver in fantasy points than Jamar Chase. It had to be a hot take, Dave. Hold on.
No,
it had to be spicy. It had to be spicy. So I went with that, and so for you to say he was mid,
The Bengals are the Bengals. I mean, they had one good year, and I think we're going to see what we saw with the Jaguars in 2018. They were looking great. Defense was awesome. Really hot offense, and then they just fell off a cliff. I think we see that with the Bengals this year.
He knows the way to my Kansas City heart is beat up on the Bengals. But let's see. Baltimore, New England. Obviously, we talked earlier about Jacoby Myers not expected to play. Nelson Aguilar, an option that as a wide receiver 3 you might throw in. Let's say a 14-team auction league. Maybe if you were in the Kings Classic, would you put Nelson Aguilar as your wide receiver 3 and be just okay with it?
Yeah.
Me too.
He had that was a nice touchdown catch. I don't know if you guys caught that last week. Jumped over, whatever DB it was and just snatched the ball out of his hands. It's looking good. I mean, as a wide receiver 3, you could do a lot worse.
Right. Exactly.
You put Nelson Aguilar into your Kings Classic roster.
I already had him in there. Picked him up like 4 days ago when Jacoby Myers wasn't practicing.
You were extra happy with yeah, I think so too. I agree. And I'm like, wait a second.
Oh yeah.
Did you insert him into your? Yes, you did.
Cater to my own whims. Of course, I'm going to do anything that I actually have done. That's stupid. I'm
like it.
Hedge that.
Love it.
Jump on. We know Mark Andrews is going to Mark Andrews. Hunter Henry's been less than disappointing somehow, which has been just gross.
Yeah.
On the defensive side of the ball, Kyle Duggar did not practice Thursday, not trending in the right direction. Jorge, got a question.
Sure.
Who potentially might jump in? Could that be
Adrian Phillips? Is that who you're talking about? Or
Yeah.
Well, he was the guy before Duggar kind of made that ascension last year. I could definitely see Phillips kind of taking over some of that role just because he has had familiarity being the go-to guy and the lead guy at that position.
He was a beast in San Diego, LA. He did really well. I don't know. I like Phillips.
Yeah. I'll tell you who actually I'm referring to is not just Adrian Phillips. It's a Mr. Jabril Peppers. What if Jabril Peppers actually comes in this game and gets those line of scrimmage snaps? Don't be shocked if we don't hear his name mentioned a few times like this week.
Right.
Jorge, okay.
Okay, so fine. You want to do the let's do a side bet here for next week. Let's see who has more solo tackles this week, Peppers or Phillips.
Oh man, see, as much as I don't know the playing time for Peppers yet because I don't know if he's healthy enough to even play plenty. I think that it's an intriguing name to keep in the back of your mind, maybe not one to start or play.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's my way of weaseling out of that.
Weaseling out of
I
that?
don't
Yeah,
trust
gotcha.
it. Exactly.
Just checking.
Backtracking.
Yeah.
I don't have any good segue from Weasels to the Houston-Chicago game, but both are
Jaquan
gross.
Brisker, baby. Jaquan Brisker.
Okay. Well, there you go. You found that. We can talk probably about 5 names, and they don't include Davis Mills or Justin Fields, but Les, you get to choose one. You have to choose only one. You're starting Davis Mills or Justin Fields.
Ooh, that's tough. So I'm very superstitious, y'all. Just something to know about me. So I'm gonna go straight here with my Texan skull, my voodoo skull, to get that answer, man. Hold on, let me see.
That was like a magic 8 ball.
I'm gonna go Justin Fields as a better fantasy quarterback. Not necessarily saying they're gonna win the game. And I say because they're at home in Chicago. I did a check on the weather today. It's expected to be 16 miles per hour wind. So I think Justin will use his legs more than Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1 at home against the 49ers in the flooded out, situation there. I mean, he threw for 2 touchdowns, rushed for 11. Had 11 rushing attempts. So if I'm going between them two, I'm going for the upside on Justin over Davis Mills.
Gotcha.
So,
guys,
what are you guys doing with Damien Pierce? I bought into the Damien Pierce hype bigger than buying Bitcoin at 60,000. I don't know whether to start him, to sit him, because he got decent volume last week and he's looking good. When he plays, he's good. They're just not playing him as much.
If there are some leagues where I have no choice but to start Damien Pierce, the fact that it was just a drastic increase in snap percentage last week and going against this beat up Chicago Bears defense, which may not have Roquan Smith this week. There's still some talk that up in the air he may not be starting. We still got 2 hours, obviously, to figure that one out. But it's not looking good. So, yeah, I'm okay with starting Pierce this week.
Yeah, and Bears have been getting chewed up on the ground. A little over 5 yards per attempt, almost 400 yards allowed. I just seems like that's what their only thing that's going to be able to be involved is. I think it's Damien Pierce. David Montgomery, and Brandon Cooks. And after that, I think it's, move a long time. I think there would be, I'd love to see Nico Collins incorporated. I'd love to see Cole Kmet actually catch a ball. These are things that I want to do. But with Les's Magic 8 Ball, my guess is he's going to rub it and he's going to say, move along.
Yeah.
Jorge, you have to choose one of this: Jonathan Greenard or Travis Gibson total scoring this week. And then give me Jalen Petre versus Jaquan Brisker, which is a great matchup of very hyped rookie safeties.
So I think you and I both, we wrote about Travis Gibson this week as far as how dominant he was last week compared to, the true quote-unquote starter, if we're going by snaps, Al-Qadim Muhammad. It is that reason, the fact that he has not been dominating snaps as the starter, that I'm going to go Grenard. That being the case, it's hard to look past what he did last week. And I know Muhammad is the guy that the head coach brought over from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
You know what? It's hard to, you can't, numbers don't lie. Performance still doesn't lie. That being said, Gibson, he may be the guy one day, but he's not the guy today. So give me Grenard.
Yeah. I'm going to lead the opposite way and go Gibson, because even though numbers don't lie, the numbers on Gibson are better than Grenard, even with limited snaps. So, maybe those are the numbers I'm going to lean. Here's Les. My guess is this one's hitting a little close to home. He's going to start off doing the perfect way to go into this. Hey, Les is the GOAT. And then my guess is this is a shot at you to say something about but you're a Houston Texans fan. I don't, fill us in. What are we seeing here?
No, shout out to Alex. Hey, I'm far from the GOAT, but I did help my man Alex draft. This is his first year doing fantasy football at all.
Nice.
And he had me on speed dial for his draft while I was in the middle of two drafts at the same time. But I think we got a good squad. He wanted to drop George Kittle after week 1. I was like, hold up.
Yep.
But I'll take that. As a Texans fan, of course, we kind of have this like make-believe rivalry with the Cowboys. It's not really real, but they've handled the Dak injury very well. They pulled that game out against Cincy. I think they're favored to beat the Giants. I don't know, but we at least know they got a good shot. Dak is due to be back. So, I thought when Dak was out and they were talking about 6 to 8 weeks, their season was done, but they're looking good. They're looking straight. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Texans and Cowboys do have some things in common. Neither have won a Super Bowl in the 21st century. Las Vegas, Tennessee.
Wow.
Yep. I like to isolate now Cowboys fans. Don't care.
Well, the Texans fans at the same time.
Texans, come on. They know that's not a shot at them. They're just getting started. They're just babies.
No.
It's
I learned last year about my own team. We're the only AFC South team to yet make the AFC Championship, and that includes the game, and that includes the Jacksonville Jaguars. So anyway, I digress. Next subject, Nate.
We can go to the Tennessee Titans if you want to talk about a team that has no chance of making the AFC Championship game. Vegas is 2-point favorites with an over/under of 45.5. I think that seems a little high personally, but whatever. I guess maybe the odds makers are feeling Tennessee can stay in this game. We shall see. First quick question. It's going to revolve around some Derek Carr comments that we've had earlier. Is he going to give us another QB1 week, Jorge? You have him in your QB1 ranks?
I'm sorry. Did we switch to a different game, or?
Yeah, Las Vegas and Tennessee.
I thought I was still answering the Petrie versus.
Oh, you can. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Jalen Petrie, more box snaps.
There you go.
Okay, so anyway, going back
to he wanted to. He got. I think the Houston Texans talk was, or the Houston Texans talk was hurting. So I tried to move as far away from that AFC South conversation to go to Tennessee, still in the AFC South.
Gotcha. All right, my bad. He's a top 12 quarterback for me. The volume is going to be there. They running backs are hurt.
Yeah.
You have Devontae Adams, just Darren Waller, just Do your thing, Derek Carr. Yeah, he's a top 12 for me.
Yeah. All right, clairvoyant. Think the Eagles will win the Super Bowl this year?
Yes.
Ooh, wow, that was a quick answer.
Yes. It was a quick answer. Yes, they're winning the Super Bowl. Yes, it pains me to say that as a Commanders fan.
It's okay.
But like this team is stacked on offense and defense. They're doing so well now. Imagine when they start clicking on all cylinders, and it's fly Eagles fly this year.
Yeah, just think a year ago at this time, you were telling us all how
Gardner Minshew.
Yep. How'd that go for you?
He started a couple of games.
Did he?
He did well against the Jets. Let's not take that away from him.
We can take it away from him. We can take it away from him. He didn't earn the starts. Let's put it that way.
He played well. When his number was called.
All right. This is a crazy one because I think that the answers initially when this was brought up, this was pre-Josh Jacobs' illness. Assuming he's healthy since he flew and showed up and maybe all systems go. But was it crazy to think that Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry could be close in the overall finish this week?
You mean in terms of fantasy point production?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes. Anytime you lose a key piece of your offensive line, like the Titans did now with Taylor Lewan, I believe, being declared out for the season.
Yep.
That I don't know if that came out last night or this morning, but yeah, no, it's not looking good for Derrick Henry. It's you have a one-dimensional offense, and you took away a key piece of what made that one-dimensional offense successful. And then, Josh Jacobs, he's apparently over his illness. I just think this offense as a whole for the Raiders is just going to this is going to feast, and it's the Titans that are going to famine.
The Titans are not looking good. I think it's finally time to give up on our boy Tannehill, right? Are you still on the Tannehill train, Jorge?
You know what? I'm not unreasonable when it comes to Ryan Tannehill. The years I said he was going to be good, he was good. Have you seen me hyping him up? They got all this season? No.
That's true. I'll give you
just
that.
saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing when you lose A.J. Brown.
Is there any receivers that you like? I mean, Burks. Are we on Burks at all?
Les, what do you think about Jalen Burks?
So, Nate, you stole my thunder on that A.J. Brown comment. He was definitely Tannehill's security blanket, and there's no replacement there. Burks, I like Burks as like a wide receiver 3. I think he'll be consistent as a wide receiver 3 going forward. He's getting better each game, getting more targets, and he's showing it. He's going down the middle of the field. He's showing a few different things in his repertoire. So I like Burks.
Jorge,
is Burks or Woods the number one there? I'm trying to work it out.
In terms of yardage,
Burks.
It's Burks.
I was just getting ready to ask: is Woods droppable?
Yes.
Yeah.
He only has 52 receiving yards on the season. I know he's third on the team in targets. Yeah, it pains me to say that this isn't Robert Woods a la Las Vegas Rams. This is the beginning of the end, unfortunately, for Bobby Trees.
Yeah, I think Westbrook-Akini has more yards than him, right?
Yeah.
Not by much. Kyle Phillips has more yards.
Yeah, Kyle Phillips, I say, probably has more.
Gotcha.
I
was happy to get him in the 12th, and then I dropped him after week 1. No regrets. So,
and I think that's exactly where you should have done. The upside and the potential was there, and it made sense. And if he had the rapport, you have a guy who demonstrated that he's more than capable of producing a wide receiver, not really wide receiver 1, but I would have taken a wide receiver 3 in the 12th round. Clearly, you know that. What about Hunter Renfrow being out? Is Matt Collins a good pivot in the slot there with Tennessee being weak on defense as a whole? And I think that Derek Carr, we know, likes to look towards the slot, or is it just going to be Devontae Adams and Darren Waller on call today?
Yes, the latter.
Okay. Insert Matt Collins into my DFS play. I just fade all of your picks, Jorge, is all I do, just so you know. So if I win money, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, no, very funny.
No, I'm just kidding. So, but we talked earlier about Treylon Burks, and Les, think you're right. The question I have though with his, extension and growth in this is week one. We had this hype of this. He had this 19 19-yard ADOT, which was very impressive. Something we want to see, something not similar to AJ Brown in terms of how they compared the two as receivers. Week two, it was cut in more than half at 7.3. But is there a positive to be gained that maybe if he's utilized more in the AJ Brown role, the familiarity and the comfortability is there, and he actually is more productive? I mean, I don't know if that's just narrative or if that's something to pay attention to going forward. That's just weird little things that you see and pick up and something to follow. And maybe it won't be this week against Vegas because I get the feeling that Tannehill's going to be on his ass a lot personally. But
do you think if Tannehill has a bad game that there's serious talk about putting in Malik Willis next week?
I think Malik Willis plays this week.
Yeah, I mean he already came in. I mean, I know it was a blowout, but the fact that they brought him in, relatively early in that game, and Tannehill with the pick six, yeah, I think we're gonna see Malik pretty soon.
The play in my head that I see is Tannehill back scrambling. Max catches him, forces a fumble that's picked up, and at that point, Tannehill kind of not limps off because I don't want to wish injury, but I see it being one of those, and I see then they pan over to the sideline and you see Malik Willis throwing on the sideline. It's just one of those, that voodoo helmet. Maybe I got my voodoo coffee mug over here saying the same thing. I don't wish ill towards Tannehill or anybody, but speaking of injury, go ahead.
Maybe he should have been a little bit more receptive to being a mentor to Malik Willis than being the whole.
I'm telling you, right?
Yeah, I guess you shouldn't have tried to be like Brett Favre, like Aaron Rodgers. I guess you should have been a better teammate. But whatever, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, exactly. On the defensive side, Denzel Perryman is out. Divine Diablo, another strong week. Poor Dave's having more. He's saying he got vertigo from less. I'm
sorry. Having some technical issues, guys. Sorry about
that. Defensively, Jorge,
yes.
We said there's no pass rush on Tennessee. Vegas has all the pass rush. Divine Diablo, Jayon Brown, both decently strong plays at linebacker this week.
Absolutely. I mean, they're still going to have to run the ball. Tennessee, that is. So anytime you're going against Derrick Henry, you want to start these guys. In fact, I probably, if I had to have a rationale for picking Jayon Brown versus Diablo, revenge game narrative, if you want to use that as a reason for picking a player. On the other side, though, I'm a little bit disappointed this year, and I'm sure everybody is disappointed, including himself, in Kevin Byard's play. Yes, he's been there from a tackle upside perspective, but when it comes to just overall, grading here, it's just not looking as good as it was last year. This guy was rated as the best safety last year, according to Pro Football Focus. So to see that kind of a dip this year is kind of surprising, but not surprising because you have all the injuries along the defensive line, and then the linebacking core. Kevin Byard, I think, is being asked to do a little bit too much, and as a result, you're going to see a little bit drop in his efficiency. Yeah,
I like the tackle volume, like you said. I mean, he's had weeks of 12 total, 8 solo, and 7 with 6 solo for weeks 1 and 2. And I actually was going to say I'm a little optimistic this week with him. I think that it's just going to be Vegas ball control, and I think that he'll be around. He just needs those splash plays, and that's what's going to have to happen for him to be back up into the talks that you're saying. So Buffalo at Miami is the next game. If there is before we get in there, the style of play in the NFL has finally moved so pass heavy that future drafts will see less running backs go in the first round. I think we're starting to see that already, right? I mean, this next year will be really telling because Bijan is like, according to some, and I do far from the research from the college ranks, but maybe one of the higher ranked or higher elevated running backs coming into the draft. Do we see any running backs going in the first round at all, or is the turnover just too high and the value just too low to invest that high on them?
Okay, boom, right there. Invest. I wouldn't say you're not going to see some upper echelon running backs get taken in the first round. Definitely not as much as you had seen in previous years. Mm-hmm. What you are going to see, though, is on the back end when it comes to contract negotiation. That the days of those Zeke deals are over. That's not happening anymore because they unfortunately are a replaceable position. There is somebody to take that place. Good Lord, David, how many?
I know.
Do you have like a coffee cup or like a?
I'm trying to. Unfortunately, my mic is not working, so I had to switch to my phone and
Okay.
don't
No
have
worries.
anything to hold it up. Sorry, guys.
Just giving you a hard time. Yeah, to answer your question, Brandon, definitely can see that happening. More investment into like offensive linemen. That's probably going to be the thing people are going to have a hard time adjusting to. It's like, oh, I have to memorize these offensive linemen too. Like, yeah, you better because they're protecting the quarterback there.
Yeah.
So,
the draft's just, everybody wants fun, exciting. They want to see the receivers. They want the quarterbacks. They want the running back. The names that they recognize in college more so than the interior defensive and offensive linemen. Not quite the sexy plays that everybody's kind of hoping for.
No.
But I tell you, one of the sexy games on the week is this next one, which is Buffalo at Miami. And Buffalo secondary, obviously in shambles. Miami coming off of last week's, Tua-palooza, which I'm so pissed off at myself. Les, I don't know if you heard, at 11 my Central Time. So 10 minutes before game time started, I was putting a DFS lineup in, and I don't do it that often, but I figured I'd do one because Tua was my play of the week. My stack of the week was like Tua and Waddle and Tyreek, and I had all three of them in, had Amon-Ra, and I mean, it would have been just one of those weeks. And I went to hit submit, and it was like, I swore it was 11:59, but it said missed. I wasn't real happy with a little sick to my stomach over that. But you think that Tua? Go ahead. What?
Just a little breaking news here for the Bills. Now that we're on the Bills game, Jordan Poyer inactive today.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, I think that was kind of assumed. Is Poyer was going to be out. I think that collectively, Micah Hyde's on the IR out for the season. Jordan Poyer's out. Ed Oliver's out. Jordan Phillips is out. With all of those players being out that have an impact on Miami as far as like the interior pressures facing Tua, because Teron Armstead, the tackle for Miami, did not practice Friday with a toe injury, still questionable. Don't know yet. Miami, will we see a repeat from last week with Tua? Not 6 touchdowns, Les. I'm not asking you to say he's going to throw 6, but will we see a QB1 out of Tua again?
I think so. If 7 starters were out, I think it's around that number. I think everyone was looking at borderline QB1, QB2 numbers, but with all those starters out now, he's not getting 470 and 4 touchdowns, but I think his floor has got to be 250 plus and 2. I mean, I'd be cool with that, especially because he's going to be in a shootout with Josh Allen anyway in Miami. So
he does not have a good arm. Those touchdowns to Tyreek Hill were very underthrown. It's just the fact that Tyreek was able to recover it and turn it into a TD. But
does that matter now? As long as he has the playmakers that can adjust, right? Then that doesn't matter. If he had people that weren't as talented,
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, Waddle,
I think that.
Sure. Go ahead.
I think we're going to see with Waddle and Hill what we saw year one with Juju and Antonio Brown. If anyone remembers that from 2019, I want to say, when those two were just absolute studs. So I think defenses have to respect them both. They're very high-end wide receivers.
Yeah, I think it's funny that Waddle had this extremely low ADOT that he just was taking everything, and I mean, his yak was very incredible last week. But from the running perspective, I mean, here we have 2 teams that in Miami, Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds, neither one have really had anything established. Edmonds has definitely been a disappointment for me so far early on. It's granted it's 2 weeks in. And on the Buffalo side, Devin Singletary, we know had a strong week 1, but neither of these 2 teams have established the strong running game that we're expecting. What do we expect this week? Jorge?
Sorry. I really want to be on the Singletary bandwagon. The opportunities are there, but the production just hasn't been there. For Miami, now there's talking like, oh, it's going to be the Mostert show, and I don't know. I think which we've been hyping up all show this so far today it's going to be a passing affair. It's going to be the receivers and, Knox and Gesicki who are going to benefit the most of this game. I wouldn't start any running back for either of these teams.
Yeah. No.
I'll tell you what, though, Josh Allen can't keep running like he's running. I mean, he's going to take way too many hits. He's one of the, if not the highest paid, one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. You can't run like a running back, 10, 11 times a game. I don't know. It'll catch up with him. We saw that with Lamar in year 2. Mm-hmm. I think we might see that with Josh Allen later this year. Obviously, he's the number one quarterback now, and he is my overall number one running back. But he's an injury risk just waiting to happen.
Yeah, shockingly, he only has 11 rushing attempts on the season, which is like Daniel Jones has 16. But some of those improvised. But you're right. He also the problem with Josh Allen too is that, and we've seen this with other big bodied quarterbacks, is they allow them to take bigger hits. They allow them to get hit harder, like we saw with Cam, because they can absorb a little bit more of that, which is an interesting thing to pay attention to.
But the rushing, sure, he's only got 11 rushing attempts, right? Mm-hmm. But he's not rushing the way Tom Brady or Russell Wilson rushes, where you get your 8 yards, you slide, and it's done. He gets to 8 yards and go, I think I can get 4 more. And then he's got 2 linebackers just absolutely demolishing him, There's mm-hmm. only so long you can do that for.
Yeah, exactly. We know the running game is not going to be the strongest in this. We don't know that. We assume that. But we do know that, again, assume this passing attack is going to be dynamic. Jorge, we're going to go. I want you guys see if we can find a consensus of Tyreek, Waddle, Diggs, and Davis. Who's going to finish number 1 this week of those 4?
Waddle.
Does anybody have any less? Do you agree with Waddle or disagree?
I'm going Diggs.
Who are the 4? Sorry, again.
Tyreek, Waddle,
I think
Diggs,
Tyreek.
and Davis.
It's Tyreek.
Les?
I'm going Diggs.
Okay.
Just basically on the eye test on this one. Period.
And that's exactly why I asked the question like that, because all 3 of these 4, Gabe Davis is obviously going to be our 4, but I think anyone at any potential could explode. This over-under is 53 for a reason. Buffalo's 5.5-point favorites. I think that we could see absolute fireworks. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think it's going to be maybe one of the better games. It's going to be a test. This would kind of prove Miami, because Miami's getting an opportunity to face this Buffalo team without a lot of their weapons. I'm not saying that's what they need to succeed, but it's going to give, if Tua is going to succeed and he does it, people will blame and they say, oh, it's because Buffalo didn't have him. But if he doesn't, then again, question marks will fly and everybody will question Tua, probably, maybe unfairly or fairly. Who knows? Jorge, on the defensive side, if you had to choose one, Tremaine Edmonds or Jordan Baker?
Yeah, give me Edmonds. Baker really hasn't shown you much this year. Give me Tremaine Edmonds. And I say this, I say this, and I scoff at Edmonds like he's like somebody who. I think we've had this discussion a couple of times already, and that is the hype that Tremaine Edmonds had coming into the league has never lived up to, or his performance has never lived up to the hype, I believe, for IDP. That being said, I'm looking at production and I'm seeing who's been more productive, and that's been Tremaine Edmonds. So I'm going to go Tremaine Edmonds.
Gotcha.
Although let me tell Christian Wilkins this week, pretty high on him.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle. Yeah, no. So I remember back in this February, March, I did a Dynasty Risers article on him, and from like weeks 9 through 17 last year, only Aaron Donald had a better win rate than Christian Wilkins among all defensive linemen. So you see how well he's been producing so far this year in terms of tackles, which is amazing for a defensive tackle. So I'm pretty excited to see what he does this week. So if you have a defensive tackle spot and Christian Wilkins is available, I would slide him in there this week.
Gotcha. Kind of a little disappointed on some of the Miami defensive players here. And Brandon Jones has been a little up and down. We've seen that. His snap count went down in week 2. But We'll move along. Detroit, Minnesota is the game that we've probably talked more about, just with the conversation of Jared Goff and those weapons. That point total is one of the highest in leagues like Buffalo. Miami's at 52.5. Minnesota 6-point favorites. Detroit in scoring is number 4 in the NFL. Who, with the show of hands, believes they'll finish in the top 8 in scoring at the end of the season? Nobody.
No, nope.
I don't either. Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked.
Would not be shocked because so let me ask you a question, Dave. You said earlier that it's the Bengals, and your reason for being down on Cincinnati is because they're the Bengals. You cannot say the same thing about Detroit. They are the Lions.
I've Detroit to win their division.
Oh,
I think they absolutely take it out. Mm-hmm. I think Rodgers is getting exposed. Look, last week he played the Bears. It's the Bears, right? But week 1 is what I think we're going to see from the Packers going forward. Look, Goff he's not a horrible quarterback. Is he a stud? Absolutely not. But he's got everything around him that he needs. He's got an amazing O-line. He's got studs in obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's got TJ Hawkinson. DJ Chark as a wide receiver too is not too bad at all. You could do a lot worse. Mm-hmm. Jamal Williams is a decent backup to DeAndre Swift. Yep. I mean, as far as a team, they're not a dumpster fire of a team. They're really not. Yeah. I know I've said it a million times before, but that year when Goff was the overall number 1 quarterback, when he had Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods, and Todd Gurley healthy. So, he has the potential to really fire it up, when he needs to. He's a pocket quarterback too. There's very few pocket quarterbacks right now. He's not a Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's a pass-first quarterback. So, I don't know. I think Lions win this week. I expect them to win their division. They'll probably finish the season 12-5.
That is, I would go to Vegas because I think their over win total is probably 8, maybe 7. So that should be an easy money win for you. Is there any receivers on either side of the ball not named Justin Jefferson or Amon-Ra that we are comfortable starting? And I say comfortable because Adam Thielen is probably a start that a lot of people are questioning. But are you comfortable starting him, Jorge? Les?
No, I'm not.
I'd be okay with it if I had him as an RB2. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go. That's all right. No, you go.
No, if I had him as an RB2, not overly confident, but I'd start him. I'd be okay with it. Thielen.
Yeah.
What are we doing with Smith Jr.?
Starting him. The Lions are giving up the 10th most points to the fantasy position, and we're talking around 10 fantasy points a game. We saw the targets heavily go towards Irv Smith last week. I think that was kind of a sign like they want to move towards the Jefferson Smith train when it comes to receiving targets and then less away from Adam Thielen. Although I will say there was a play last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles, in which case I forget, was it Smith who went? Smith and Thielen both went to the right pylon, and I was like saying, throw it to Thielen, and he was about to throw it to Thielen, but then Thielen tripped and fell down.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, then he ended up going to. So where I'm going with that is that yes, Kirk Cousins is still probably going to look Adam Thielen's way in the red zone and in the end zone. Mm-hmm. But if we're looking at targets and we're looking at trends, I just think it's a no-brainer to start Irv Smith this week.
Yeah, I think we all assume it's going to be a pass attack in both of these. So from the defensive side of the ball, that probably means both pass rushes have more opportunities to produce sacks. Obviously, the more you pass, obviously the greater the chance that you have an attempt at a sack is going to be. But outside of them, Harrison Smith, who leads the NFL right now in solo tackles, is out. I believe he's out. I don't know if it's been officially ruled yet, but he's out. He's pretty evident he's out. Yeah. I wrote on Cameron Bynum. I think that's a sneaky play in a game that we've seen the safeties targeted from Detroit as far as a high scoring potential, someone to focus on. Nothing. I'm going to start him as a DB1, but if you have like 3 defensive back positions, it's very intriguing of a play. Just something to pay attention to there, Jorge.
Yep, agreed. What are your thoughts though on Natellis, the starting strong safety? Nope.
I don't want to start either one because they've mentioned that they're going to probably bring in Natellis and Lewisine in tandem. They're going to split snaps between the two. And if you have two starting safeties, you have none, as far as I'm concerned.
Pretty much.
Cincinnati at New York Jets. What a crazy start to the season. Who would have thought going into week 3 that we could see a potential 100 pass attempt game between these two offenses? Seriously, Joe Flacco's averaging 51.5 per game. It's Les, are you have Joe Flacco as a super flex option as your QB2. How comfortable are you starting him against this Bengals defense?
You're muted.
Yeah, I'm with Joe Flacco. I mean, like you said, you're getting the volume. Isn't he leading the league in attempts right now?
By a lot.
I think in yardage too. So Cincinnati hasn't shown a lot. They just let Cooper Rush, do a little more than manage the game. So I'm going with I think with Garrett Wilson and Flacco, they've got something. Elijah Moore's there, so I'm cool with Flacco definitely as a QB2.
Yeah, I never would have thought it, but he just doing his thing after all these years, and like I said, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, both capable of wide receiver 3 weeks. Who do you like more this week, Les? If you had to choose one, you like Wilson or you like Elijah Moore?
You got to go with Wilson. He just had the big game. Davis, and Elijah Moore, to this point, we were just talking about, is he droppable on one of the viewers' questions. So if you made me choose Wilson.
Yep, I agree. Jorge.
Yes.
Brees Hall slowly. We talked question earlier about the running backs being slow starts. Brandon was telling us, they haven't seemed to have had the fast start that we've expected. But it looks like Hall's, he's taking control. Last week was great. He had the multiple touchdowns, both receiving and rushing. You think that RB2 upside this week, or you think it's going to be too split between him and Carter?
I just see it being I'm sorry. I know Brees Hall is, heralded out of Ohio State, but this is kind of shifting towards being Michael Carter's backfield, even though that's not at all what they wanted it to be. And what do I mean by that? Do I see Michael Carter being the alpha running back for this Jets team for the long haul? No. I do see him being that as Joe Flacco is the quarterback, since he likes to pass it everywhere. And we look on the seasons, we have Carter 14 targets to Brees Hall's 10. We see the attempts in the favor of Michael Carter. I think we were fooled this offseason and thinking that Brees Hall was just going to come in here and be the alpha dog here, and he's not. And the fact that this Jets team is going to be playing from behind a lot, needing to air it out more, and that's right up Michael Carter's alley. That's what made him such a high commodity draft pick when he came out of North Carolina. Him next to Javonte, he was that 1B guy who put up 1A production, and that's exactly what you're seeing with the Jets right now.
Yeah, you said the 1B, we compared him to BB8 last week. Poor Michael Carter can't catch a break. Brees Hall, one little thing I thought this was interesting is that Cincinnati is yet to allow 55-plus yards rushing to any one back. But in weeks 1, they allowed 12 targets to the running back, and week 2, they allowed 9 targets. There's an opportunity for Brees Hall to see some work in the receiving game, of course. Maybe that's something to pay attention to. If we talk about the defensive side, me personally, I love both Trey Hendricks and Sam Hubbard. This heavy volume. I think maybe Carl Lawson could be a good play, especially against the Cincinnati Bengals team that just can't protect Joe Flacco. I mean, the poor guy's on his back, and I'm sure I'd have a joke to insert, but I won't, because we need to move on to Philadelphia at Washington. Speaking of someone maybe be on his back, Carson Wentz could be against his Philadelphia pass rush. It's the battle of the sweats, Montez versus Josh, starting on the IDP side. If you had to choose one, Jorge, choosing Montez or Josh? Higher score point total this week.
If I'm correct, is Montez the right defensive edge rusher? Because if he is, he's going against the starting left tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, whose name I can't recall off the top of my head. Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson.
What I do recall from Lane Johnson is that he is tremendous in pass blocking. So that would kind of help negate some of that. You look at who we went against last week. I want to say it was Daniil Hunter, or was it Zadarius Smith? One of the it doesn't matter. The point is that nobody was getting.
Lane's on the right side. Jordan Mailata's on the left.
Thank you. Okay. I still think that it's going to be Josh Sweat. This offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles is, this offensive line for the Washington Commanders is not optimal. So that's putting it nicely. And you look at the way that, Hassan Reddick has he produced for IDP purposes? Not really. And that's being nice. But he has the ability to rush the passer as well as play in coverage. I just see a lot of narratives heading towards the Philadelphia Eagles way in terms of pass rushers. So give me Josh Sweat.
I have a start-sit question through text. Josh Jacobs or Damien Harris?
Harris
is what I texting. There we go. I don't disagree. I do like Josh Jacobs this week a little bit, but man, just you wonder what the fatigue of if he's been sick all week, it has to concern me a little bit. And I could see Vegas very easily just getting ahead, saying here, Zamir, you can have the ball. Brandon Bolden will let Josh kind of rest for a week. Hey, Les, we just talked about this offensive line for the Washington Commanders. Carson Wentz is the QB4 on the season.
Yep.
You only have to answer yes or no. Will he be a QB1 this week against the Eagles?
Nope, not at all. You saw my FYI article, but you wanted a one-word answer? Nope.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, his regression is coming, and I think it starts today.
Yep, I am right there with you, my friend. What about Miles Sanders? Smash spot against this Commanders defense that realistically against the run has not been great, but again, 2-week sample size.
Yep, I like my Miles Sanders. Against the Lions, they were kind of sharing the love with everybody. Jalen Hurts, Boston Scott. I think Gainwell might even got in there, but they've kind of pared it down to basically Hurts and Sanders. So I think he'll eat today.
Gotcha. All right, the receiving core from both of these two teams. There's some variance. I think that any one of these assumed names, I'm going to leave out A.J. Brown because I think A.J. Brown will be the easy number one to choose. But, guys, we got Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Devonta Smith, and Jahan Dotson. How do we order these? Dave, who would be your number one?
It's probably going to be Scary Terry. I'm not excited about it, though. I mean, truthfully, you got A.J. Brown and those guys, he's tier 1. Those guys are maybe high-end tier 3. Mm-hmm. I'm just not expecting a ton out of anyone not named A.J. Brown.
So, Fernando,
thank you for joining us, my friend. And all right, Les, if you in agreement that you think it's going to be McLaurin, or you leaning maybe Curtis Samuel, Devontae?
To keep it quick, I'll show you the list I had. I had Samuel, Devontae, McLaurin, and then Dotson. But it's so wishy-washy, and Dave gave some good insight that McLaurin could be number one. I'll just throw it out.
I think that does anybody disappoint, Jorge, of those four? Severely disappoint.
I've been looking back at some of the tape of McLaurin versus Darius Slay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not worried about McLaurin this week, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
That being said, Jihad Johnson has been the red zone guy, the end zone guy target for Washington. So if they do get into that area of the field, I think you see him get targeted. And a name to keep an eye on is Logan Thomas. I know he's still working his way back from injury, but he's gotten better each week. Mm-hmm. And historically speaking, he's had the Eagles' number when it comes to touchdowns. So that's if you're in a deep league, 14-team league or so, or if you're just happen to be stuck with a tight end issue, mm-hmm. I wouldn't fade Logan Thomas this week.
He scored a tutty last week, didn't he?
He did, yes.
And wasn't healthy. Very solid. Dallas Goedert still looking to build from what he started developing last year. We'll see how that progresses. On one last thing on the defensive side, Cameron Curl set to return. I think Derek Forrest is sent back to waivers as far as I'm concerned. I don't trust Derek Forrest to get enough snaps with Cameron Curl there. Jorge, agree?
Agreed.
Perfect.
I'm literally clicking him off my rankings right now.
Yep, exactly. Jameis Winston, suffering from a back injury, obviously has a couple fractures within the vertebrae. The second most sacks allowed on the week or on the season. We're worried about Jameis and this pass attack this week as a whole against Carolina, correct?
Yeah, and the fact that Kamara is good to go, I think you're going to see them deviate a little bit from the passing game like we've been seeing the past few weeks.
Yeah, limited practice from Kamara, but I'm still all systems go there. Guys on the other side of the ball, CMC. You guys are up right now with the 5th pick, and it went Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, say Eckler, whatever, and you're staring CMC in the face. Knowing what you know now, you still have the opportunity rest of season, or you still take CMC there, Dave?
Absolutely. I'm very high on CMC. I think he finishes as a top 3 running back. I think Saquon finishes number 1. And CMC is gonna finish 2 or 3.
You're there.
No, I'm taking Saquon.
Okay, well, Saquon went then. Saquon's one of the other names gone.
I would not. I would go with Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson's gone.
Jamar Chase.
Okay, Jamar
What?
Chase. There you go.
You take Jamar Chase over CMC?
Well, I guess you said knowing what I know now. No, okay, I guess I will take CMC then if we're taking all those other players off. Yeah.
All right, Les. CMC still rest of the season for you. Optimistic.
Yeah. Assuming that Justin Jefferson, like you said, yeah, I'm taking CMC with the 5th. You come back around in the 2nd round and you can get Kelsey or Swift or Aaron Jones or something like that to pair with him. Absolutely.
That would be nice. Is this buy now on Chris Olave time at all? I mean, we're seeing that rapport starting to build? Are we still, or is Jameis's back injury too much of a downside, Les?
I like him. I drafted him and dropped him after week 1, and now he's gone. So I like him. I like him.
I have an unhealthy stock of Chris Olave, so I'm hoping he does.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about the air yards and some of the junk balls that were thrown up and how that can be skewed a little bit. But he's, one of the higher graded receivers out of the draft. I think that offense could still cater his direction. I am going to say it. I'm officially a little bit more worried about DJ Moore. I know I've been leading the DJ Moore bus for quite a while, but the target percentage has always been there for Moore. Now getting under 20%, I'm officially starting to worry that Baker Mayfield just is not an upgrade at all. And I thought it might have been. Oh, well.
There were some close games. I've got to give Baker some credit. I mean, it's not like he lost in blowouts, right? I mean,
I'm not asking about a full quarterback, though. I'm talking about, is there a quarterback that can help make DJ Moore the elite receiver that he has the potential to be? And that's my only downside. We got a couple games left. Obviously, Jacksonville Chargers. Big concern there is Justin Herbert game time decision.
Yeah.
Chargers still 3-point favorites, but the over-under is 42.5. I think if that doesn't tell you anything, that means the odds makers are kind of down on that. You're starting. All right, you have to make a choice right now. Justin Herbert or Jared Goff. Are you starting Herbert or Goff?
I'm risking it with Herbert. I mean, I have not heard anything to suggest he's not going to play. Usually by now, he would have had a couple of did not practices. He's been limited all week, suggesting they're going to play him. I just like the upside with Herbert. I mean, he's just got the potential to. He's got the arm. He's got the vision. In my opinion, he's the number 1 quarterback in the league.
Les, I saw you wince.
Yeah, I mean that's tough, but yeah, if they're starting him, I'd take Herbert with a cracked rib over Jared Goff any day.
Problem is, you might not have the ability to know that before the game actually starts.
Yeah,
is
if
he's
125, right? Oh, not 125. Sorry, Eastern time, 4:25.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. That's really tough.
And
but like you said, Dave, he hasn't had a missed practice. Man, that's so tough.
And Keenan Allen's coming back from injury also.
Yeah. And they questioned this morning that he may get a pain injection. Stay away, right? Run as far away as possible.
I'm
from that
going
doctor.
Goff. I have to go Goff here. I'm sorry, I can't.
That's okay. And that's Jorge's number 1 quarterback on the season. We know that. He said it this 2 years in a row now. Yeah, sucks. I hate that for Herbert. Yeah. But it is what it is. Austin Eckler, I think this week, like we've said, with leaving, you need to keep Herbert upright. I think we see plenty of dump offs and quick hitters to Keenan Allen. I think you guys have touched on those two. Jorge, we know J-Rob and Travis Etienne have been something you've had to listen to all of us talk about because you've been hyping up J-Rob. We've all been wanting Travis Etienne. when you have two running backs, do you have two running backs against this Chargers defense, or are you starting both, neither, or one or the other?
Definitely Robinson. I'm starting both. As my flex, I could see Etienne being somebody that I would play this week versus the Chargers. But it's tough, right? Because you have this is ideal circumstances where both what am I trying to say? T-Law and Herbert are healthy. The receiving options are healthy, and that's only on one side of the field. If Herbert doesn't play, then I'm kind of down on Etienne, and I'm just full go on Robinson. But if Herbert does play, then I could see Etienne being a flex play.
All right, how about this Chase? Let's assume Herbert's out. Chase Daniels or Jared Goff?
See, you're getting in trouble with the Missouri folk. It's Daniel,
Chase Daniel.
You'll get used to it. It's not Illinois either. It's Illinois, but
sorry.
Whatever. I'm still going Goff there personally. It's close enough that that those weapons against Minnesota, he should have it. I would say 2 touchdowns probably is a pretty safe floor, which is hard to say. Christian Kirk has been great this season. I will tell you right now, he gets Bryce Callahan, little targets in case I might be shooting myself in the foot for people that have Christian Kirk that may take him out of the lineups or might not. I don't think you should, but Christian Kirk should probably stay in the slot against zone defense on the season. He only has 2 targets. Bryce Callahan will play opposite Christian Kirk, who in games where he's been in the zone, which is what he most likely will, he only is allowed 1 reception on the season. Bryce Callahan versus Christian Kirk is a matchup that I don't want any part to do with of Christian Kirk, and I don't think he's good enough to move to the outside. I pivot to Zay Jones. I think Zay Jones leads the team in catches this week and yardage. So, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. It's the worst I've ever seen as far as over-unders, 42.5. They have played each other 4 times. They have only went under 42 points 1 time in the history, and that was Aaron Rodgers' rookie season when he filled in midway through for an injured Brett Favre. That game screams gross 7-3. Les, if you have to choose, are you choosing Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady over Jared Goff?
I'm going Goff. Tom Brady and I love them both, but Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are both on my do not start this week for real.
How about Justin Fields versus Tom Brady?
Dang, Nate. Oh man, I got to go with the GOAT on that. No, I can't disrespect Tom on that bad, man.
That makes me think of Mike Evans. Come on, man, it's Tom Brady. What'd you expect me to do? I had to pick Tom.
Yeah.
I think we all agree it's Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette, healthy Leonard Fournette to the moon. I think it's going to be a run-heavy game, guys. Do we all agree with that? Thumbs up. Dave, go ahead.
I think you should expect more from Fournette than Jones. I think both will get plenty of work.
Do you think Fournette has any chance of getting dinged up? And if he does, is Rachaad White someone that you should, obviously?
He's already dinged up, right? So, I trust Tom Brady to make more with nothing at the receiving game than Aaron Rodgers because I've seen Tom Brady do it. Yeah, I've seen Tom Brady win Super Bowls doing it. I have not seen Aaron Rodgers do it, which is something that it's just rare that you haven't seen Aaron Rodgers do before. But I trust the usage of Fournette. People like to say Rachaad White is a viable option, and he very well may be. But let's not take away from the fact that Fournette has had a history of being the receiving back also. So just a lot to take in there. But I'm going Fournette over Aaron Jones in terms of who I'm seeing perform better this week.
Is there a wide receiver in this game that you would start as a wide receiver 3? Anybody? Alan Lazard?
No.
If it was week 1, maybe Sammy Watkins, but
Cole Beasley is going to show up the first week. No, I'm just kidding. That's not.
So the answer is no. It sounds like gross.
Yes,
Scotty Miller, yuck, and yuck. Maybe Russell Gage. If
Rashad Perryman, I think Tyler said on our pregame show last week.
So Scotty Miller's running as the 1, right? He's the X.
Probably Perryman is the X.
Perryman, you reckon? Yeah.
And then Gage and then I guess it's gross. Let's move on. IDP wise, I think there's no one that I'm sitting that I normally would consider starting. I don't think anybody's super, super intriguing in this matchup. Maybe Adrian Amos moving up if they do have a heavy run presence with Tampa. Jorge, anything else?
For Green Bay,
I mean, there's a lot of starters that you're going to start anyway, right?
Yeah, there's nobody outside of that. I mean, that's outside the normal group of people that you'd be starting that I would be high on.
Right, exactly. Rams and Cardinals, divisional matchup. Arizona has allowed the most points to opposing quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, we've seen ups and downs. Les Stafford finish above or below QB 8 this week?
Against the Cardinals pass D. I'm gonna go top 8. Top 8.
Yeah, I think that. So if it's not, we know it's gonna be Cooper Kupp. Does Allen Robinson have an actual season that's not saved by a touchdown this week, Dave?
I can't trust him. I just can't put him in a lineup comfortably. You know, there's a lot. I'd be more comfortable starting Scotty Miller knowing he's going to get 7 or 8 targets than I would A-Rob. You know, he's just too touchdown dependent. It's Cooper Kupp, and really insert random play X after that. You just never know who it's going to be. Skowronek gets decent amount of targets. So
it'll be Tyler Higbee probably is going to be there. Let's Chris Labels. Is it Label?
LaBelle.
LaBelle.
Shout out Chris.
Dang. Sorry, Chris. It's my bad. I should know that last name. Damn. Now since I screwed that up, you have to get this answer right for him, Les. J.K. Singletary and is Keenan Allen worth a start today?
So I know I said earlier I would not start Dobbins, but that was not a sit or start question. So Dobbins versus Singletary, I'm going Dobbins if he's healthy for the upside. The touches in the Bills running back situation is spread way too thin. So if I got to go upside, I'm going Dobbins. And if Keenan Allen's worth a start, assuming that Herbert's playing, absolutely. Definitely. I'm assuming you're playing some type of PPR.
Mm-hmm.
I think Keenan Allen would have played last week if it wasn't a Thursday game. So okay. I think he's fully healthy.
I'm right there with you. I think that's so. Now, Les, at the beginning, I know you mentioned that at about this mark here, if you need to get running, bro, we totally understand, man. I went over my time limit. I tried to keep it concise. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I know.
Hey, Nate, I'm having way too much fun, man. Hey, my fantasy football lineups can wait, man. Let's keep going.
All right. All right.
But hey, real quick, I do got a question that came in on a text message. And anyone can take this one. I gave my opinion, but I'm gonna let y'all go on this one. Cordero Patterson or who was it? My bad. James Robinson.
That is a tough one.
It is. I'm gonna hold my answer back. I want to see what y'all say.
I'm all systems go on Cordell Patterson this week, and it's hard for me to say because I've been against Patterson for so long, but I see nothing. So Seattle's linebackers, they're not good in stopping pass-catching backs. No matter how good IDP, Cody Barton, or Jordan Brooks may be, they're not good in stopping Cordell Patterson. If you look as a whole, it's his backfield. I mean, he has 32 rush attempts, and the next closest is Tyler Algier with 10. And now Algier might start to creep in a little bit, but I don't believe that's the case. I think this is the game where, Atlanta can control the secondary with Drake London and maybe Kyle Pitts. And I think, if anything, it's going to be the triumvirate. I think it's going to be Pitts, London, and we're going to see Cordell Patterson. I think this is going to be a decent game for Atlanta. I think they can be, they're already they're underdogs on the road going to Seattle, but I just feel like Patterson might get us 65 to 80 on the ground and another 40, 50 catching, personally.
I agree with you. I would not be opposed. If someone said J-Rob, I'd be okay with it. They're pretty close. I think you can't go too wrong either way. In a full-point PPR, I'm definitely taking Patterson. He's just got that ability to run routes as a receiver, obviously the rushing attempts. So he's a one-stop shop.
Jorge, I know you want to say J Rob. So
I do want to
okay.
say J Rob, but you make too good of argument for Patterson. And just the defense is so bad in Seattle. Like it's Patterson this week versus J Rob.
What'd you tell him, Les? What'd you go with?
I told him Patterson. Y'all kind of hit all the points, but basically the matchup for me.
Yeah.
So I went Patterson.
Yep, right there. Man, it's crazy that we might actually consider Dortch in this matchup.
I do,
Ramondre, but I do, man. I mean, no Rondell. I think that is just. I wish it was full point PPR for him, but at the same time, it's just I just don't trust Ramondre entirely, especially if they want to try to control that, control the possession whatsoever. What about since we're talking about running backs? We got some iffy ones in this Rams Cardinals game. James Conner is he's gonna play, but don't know if I trust his health. And the Rams between Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson, number one, between Akers and Henderson, are they doing the right? Shouldn't they give the ball to Henderson more than Akers, Dave?
I just don't think they're going with a number one there. I think they like having a two-headed monster. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see even splits. I really do, which sucks for fantasy. I think they're both going to get 10 to 15 carries.
I can see that. If it's Akers, that they've been ineffective carries, but whatever. So what are you doing, Les, with James Conner? You have him as your RB2 right now, we'll say.
Yeah. What I'm actually doing with him is he's in my flex. He's teetering on my flex and bench depending on his status, but I'm leaning on benching him, based on my roster because I think even if he plays, he's going to be somewhat banged up.
Yeah.
So,
Jorge, outside of we just talked about Dortch. So Dortch and Hollywood. Any other targets? Is Higbee the only other receiver tight end option in this game that you're high on?
Receiver. Benjamin is a name that has been floated around there a little bit. I wouldn't discount him, especially with Connor being a little banged up. I mean, they're 1 and 2 in terms of rushing attempts, and as well as targets in the receiving game. You saw the over/under here. It should be a good, fairly back and forth matchup in the passing game. I wouldn't be surprised if Benjamin climbs in their flex worthy consideration this week.
Gotcha. All right, choose one IDP: Ernest Jones or Isaiah Simmons.
Ernest Jones. Screw Simmons. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, Simmons, you're dead to us. We hate you.
Yeah, that's right.
We just talked about that Atlanta-Seattle game. Geno Smith, Marcus Mariota, super flex appeal. Les, you have to choose one of those two. You lean in Marcus Mariota?
Over who? I'm sorry.
Over Geno.
Yeah. I'm not buying into that let Geno cook narrative. Nah, I'm going Marcus Mariota mainly for the rushing upside and the matchup. They're both bad teams, but I like Mariota a lot better.
Yeah, I try to throw some lob tosses your way every now and then. So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball. Who leads the Seattle backfield in touches this week?
Oh, it's the worst.
What is I'll ask this. What is Ken Walker's status? Like, I know the last 2 weeks it's like, he's not getting touches. But all right, quick answer to your question. I'm gonna go Ken Walker just because Kenny's not doing anything. So I'm gonna take a flyer.
They're not giving him the ball though. They're not giving him the ball. How can he do something with nothing? What do you have? 10 rushes week 1, 4 last week. We expect him. It frustrates me because he's been running efficiently. They're just not giving him opportunity to build up some momentum.
Yeah, I defer to y'all on this one for real.
The deferment needs to be given back and like a refund because I like what I've seen out of Rashad Penny, like you said, Dave. I don't like what I've seen out of Pete Carroll and giving him the ball. So it's you lose in both situations. It's just bad all around. But here's the thing: DK, Tyler Lockett, Drake London, all three have shown signs. DK's done nothing with the targets. Tyler Lockett has, but I don't know if any of us trust Tyler Lockett, and Drake London's the future. Any one of them going to disappoint that we need to be concerned with this week?
I love Drake London. I'm playing him everywhere I can. He's a target monster, runs great routes. Mariota's doing a good job of getting him the ball.
Yeah. Les?
The only way there can be a disappointment, I guess, is if Drake London underperforms because DK, and I don't expect anything from DK or Lockett anyway. I could see DK getting something. So if you had to make me answer, I'd say DK, but I expect 0 from Lockett. I mean, he's not even a thought in my mind, really.
Yeah. And Brandon agrees. So he just sat Penny 4 minutes ago because the usage. I mean, the usage just isn't there. And, it doesn't take Penny much to be highly successful. He has that breakaway ability. We saw that last 5 weeks of last season, but they haven't seen an opportunity. Hell, week 1, we started to see that. And I was playing against him. So I wasn't disappointed when they sat in the second half, but I have them everywhere. So Kyle Pitts. All right. A show of hands. Who thinks he finishes above or better than the tight end 6?
No. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, I was scratching my head. I've got him in one league, and I immediately regret it. We're just getting a repeat performance. I mean, Mariota, he likes Drake London and Cordarrelle Patterson. That's
and
really
the coach likes having Kyle Pitts block. So that's
the dumbest thing. Guy's the most athletic tight end in the history of the game, and he's gonna be blocking. Les, you say you did not think he was going to finish higher than that either. So we're all in agreement, unfortunately.
Agreed.
Ugh, God, that sucks, man. All right. Brandon says panic button on Pitts. Is that exclamation point there? Oh, I hate it.
It is. It really is.
I haven't panicked on him yet. I have him in one league. This was the first time I took a tight end not named Kelsey this early.
Yep.
I'm not panicking yet, but I'm not. I don't think he's going to finish top 7. He's in my lineup. What are you going to do? But after this week, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just say you'll never get the return that you want.
Yeah.
You can't. You invested a 3rd round pick in him or 4th round maybe, and it just sucks. But
man, there was talk at the start of the year of Kelsey, Andrews, or Pitts. They're like, I can understand the number 1 being any of those 3. People were literally talking about him as a potential number 1 tight end. I mean, I don't know. He's definitely not producing what you hoped. But look, it's just started week 3, so give him 1 week. If he doesn't perform this week, you've got to start to consider your options.
Yeah, this will definitely be one of the weeks to consider. I mean, you can't think that Atlanta is a matchup wise, Seattle wise, they've allowed 13 plus points to the tight end position. Jorge, Michael Walker, Cody Barton at IDP this week.
Walker.
There you go. San Francisco, Denver, Sunday night. We've talked a lot about Russ already. We talked a lot about Melvin Gordon as a potential flex. It's just kind of gross. Jeff Wilson, we did touch on a little bit less. You're higher on Jeff Wilson than Jorge, as it sounds like. But are you at all intrigued with with Jordan Mason or Tevin Coleman or Marlon Mack going forward?
Jordan Mason maybe, because when we talked about Jeff Wilson earlier, that was a sitter start with, or we were ranking like Zeke and Dylan.
Yes.
And my point was that Wilson had 18 touches and 2 receptions, but he wasn't efficient with it at all. I think his fantasy output on that, what was it, like 11 points, 10 points off 18 touches and 2 targets. So I think that gives, especially with TDP on injury, I think that creates a space for Mason to come in and impress. So I like Mason. Tevin Coleman and him, no, not at all.
And then on both sides, Debo's a must start. Courtland Sutton's a must start. Ayuk is bordering wide receiver 3 territory, or is he sneaking into wide receiver 2 for you? Jorge, you say yes into wide receiver 2?
No, I use flex wide receiver 3.
Okay. And
is Sutton a must start?
I think you can't look. His rapport with Garoppolo down the stretch last season was a thing of beauty to look at. You saw his usage go up more. You saw him get out of the doghouse with Kyle Shanahan, and Garoppolo was looking his way. I'm very up on Ayuk here with Garoppolo as quarterback.
Gotcha. If you had to trust in George Kittle first came back, Les, you putting your trust in Kittle?
Oh yeah, if Kittle's healthy, you got to start him. Period.
Yep.
Kittle and Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo, being back is great for Kittle.
Yeah.
Those two obviously have a great connection. So
I'm right there with you guys. So it looks like Kenyon Drake is out for Baltimore. So maybe that's a little more optimistic sign for J.K. Dobbins.
Yep.
And Tony Jones is out for New Orleans. So Alvin Kamara must be more positive and looking better, even after those limited practices. Jorge.
Yes, sir.
Talanoa Hufanga.
Yep.
All arrows up.
Yep.
What about Jonas Griffith? I wrote about him in the Chasing Upside. Did what you read, if you read that article at all of mine, or you had to edit it, so you had to read it. Haha, sucker. Are you filling up in that situation for the reasons I pointed out?
For the reasons you pointed out.
Article.
Yeah, and I got it. Look, at the ECR LB 70, it's kind of hard not to say that he can't exceed that for your fantasy roster here.
Low hanging fruit. Smart move, Nate.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'll defer to your.
Which you can find that article over at fantasyandframes.com. Read about any of our Chasing Upside picks, our start sets. Les, obviously, gosh, the article phenomenal. For the first articles out, I can't recommend people going over there read more. Monday night's going to be the most difficult for a lot of these rankings because there's a lot of people on the fence. Cooper Rush, Daniel Jones, both are yuck. I mean, neither one are super flex, right, Les? Or are you leaning? Do you like Cooper Rush or Daniel Jones?
I flip flop on this one. I'm going Danny Dimes on this at home. With his legs, with the running capability. And my other factor on this one is, this is Cooper Rush's second game. You see a lot of times when a quarterback comes out for their first game, there's not a lot of tape on him. People don't get to see what he can do in real life. But now the Giants have a chance, to game plan. So I think, he had a mid performance last week. I think I give it to Jones. Long story short.
Hey, remember what Mike White last year comes out, throws for like 400 yards and 3 touchdowns week 1, and then week 2, just like you said, they finally got a week of tape on him and they shut him down.
Exactly.
Yep.
There was an interception on the first pass, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was. You're right.
And then they booed him off the field.
Yep.
NFL, which is crazy. Like what, wherever you're in favor, Zeke versus Pollard. I mean, that's something that are both startable this week.
You're taking Zeke, but you're not happy about it. I mean, it's a similar situation to the Rams. It really is a 1A, 1B there. I mean, it's not like Zeke's not being efficient, right? He's getting decent yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not treating him like a workhorse running back like he did when he came in the league in 2016.
Yeah. What about, we talked about Sterling Shepard a little bit earlier and their potential usage there. Michael Gallup's back. Anybody starting Michael Gallup in any format this week?
DFS, baby.
Okay. Gotcha. That's fair.
I'm a Gallup truther. I will
I know
always
you
be
are.
until he's no longer in the league. I just, I like the talent.
All right. I don't disagree with, confessing your love. Stick with your love, Jorge, as it always is. We, a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans on the IDP side probably didn't have much love for Leighton Vander Esch, and he looks usable again. And then last but not least, Donovan Wilson filling in for J-Ron Curse. Jorge, Donovan Wilson has a great start, potentially him or Julian Love.
Donovan Wilson.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Guys, I got to tell you, as finally here, I don't know if you jumped off. They're mismanaged. Talking about Kyle Pitts. Absolutely. I mean, he has the number one. Sorry to leave on such a positive, negative note, but maybe that's going to will Kyle Pitts into that tight end 1 overall this week. I could use him for sure. But guys, it's been great. Another 2.5 almost hours of football talk before we get another 7 to 8 hours of actual football. It's the best way to spend my Sunday. Les, again, thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to do this every Sunday. I will condense this. I promise we will have less to talk about. But as long as we keep getting questions and we keep getting people tuning in, if we have to keep talking, we will. Jorge, as always, my friend, good luck today, except I don't mean that because we play each other a ton. Dave, sounds like you are going to be busy here in a little bit. Good luck today, everybody. So cheers, everyone. Good luck with all of your lineups.
All right, y'all. Good luck.